streaming back since I stopped streaming and I was in the United States. But first, before we react to the Lucy Letby documentary, we're going to be doing a Lucy Letby live on TikTok. So for anyone that doesn't know how my live stream works, I'm live on YouTube, live on Twitch, and live on TikTok at the same time. I go live on TikTok on my phone so that I can take guests up for live debates, but it all gets routed into this. So you'll see this chat that's here. It will come up with new guests and whatnot. So that's great, isn't it? So what I'm going to do just quickly is just test to make sure that we can be heard on the YouTube live stream, which won't take anything shorter than 2 seconds. Okay, so let's just double check. Yep. Perfect. So we now know that we can be heard on YouTube. So let's start. I appreciate anybody that joins via YouTube because you're basically one of the first people joining in terms of building up the YouTube base. We've only got like 200 something followers, but TikTok we've got a decent amount. We've got like 20k. So you guys can watch on TikTok or you can watch on YouTube. So we're going to start streaming live now on TikTok, and as I stream on TikTok, it will begin to populate this feed as well. So here we go. Yeah, so we're live on TikTok right now. And the TikTok for anybody who is watching on YouTube is Adora Story, ADAORAS_story. Yeah, I imagine, I imagine that again we're gonna have probably more viewers on TikTok than YouTube. So let's start. So we're just connecting. Oh, it says streamers are fine. Your TikTok stream is currently fine. Please start the stream. Okay, I have started the stream. Oh, I'm streaming on the wrong page. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I was streaming on 1776 now, which is my other page. Let's properly start the stream on my actual TikTok page. Okay, perfect. Okay, so won't be long. We got the Lucy Letby picture, and then we've got free Lucy Letby, NHS criminals free Lucy Letby. So and I'll just repeat the intro for the TikTok people as well, because they won't have heard anything we just said. Right, okay, perfect. So we are now live on TikTok. Hello everybody, welcome back to State of Deception Live. Obviously I'm live on Adora's Story. I was just on live with a couple other people, and they were they were remarking about you know, how good the quality is and stuff, and saying that, you know, it looks good, and I needed them. They were really helpful to me. I needed them to ensure that the quality is good on the live stream. So what we're doing now is we're doing a live debate, a TikTok live debate about Lucy Letby. So we're going to be taking guests, we're going to be hearing what people have to say, and then after that we'll be reacting live to the Lucy Letby documentary. What's up, Shelly? What's up, Jack? Thanks for joining the live. What's up, Sonia Lewis? What's up, God Over Everything? What's up, PT Matic? Thank you guys for joining the live. I appreciate it. Nick says, I agree, big NHS cover up. So we can see that the live stream is working. So we're streaming live on YouTube, and we're streaming live on TikTok, and we're also live on Twitch, which I don't really use that much, but it's good to know that we are also live on Twitch. So the YouTube stream, to me, it looks really good. So guys, remember, you can watch this stream on YouTube at State of Deception on YouTube. What's up, Warrior for Love? What's up, Drama? What's up, Ewok? What's up, Mary? Tap the screen to like the live if you're on TikTok. Share the live. Press the share the button at the bottom to share the live, and this helps boost us in the algorithm. We also want to get more people watching on YouTube, of course. I think that's really important because our YouTube is going to be the main way that we grow, and it means that we're going to get less censored, less banned, etc. Not that we make content that's like ban-worthy content, but yeah, it's just better to have other platforms that we're live on. So you guys, again, you can check us out at State of Deception, all one phrase, on YouTube, and we're live. What's up, Nick? Nick says, I agree with it. Oh, we mentioned that. Brown Doe GG says, how can we be so sure? Well, we can be sure because a lot of information has come out that has actually debunked the mainstream narrative around the Letby case. And it would be naive of us to ignore the presentation of reasonable doubt. And the court does not ignore this. The court ordinarily will allow, if new evidence is presented in a case, they will allow this evidence to be reviewed. And currently, Lucy Letby's case is in the Criminal Cases Review Commission. So Lucy Letby is a neonatal nurse, for anyone who doesn't know, that was framed by the NHS. Daelis says, big guilty. Let me just shut the door behind me. And then I'm going to continue the live stream, but you will still be able to hear me. So yeah, it's funny that people think that Letby was actually framed, was actually guilty, considering the amount of evidence that's come out that obviously shows that she's not guilty. I don't know why anybody would be so naive as to not take into account the new evidence. We've got 17 people in the live, 21 people, guys. We're running up the live numbers. Mike Delphina says, how is she not guilty? So what I've noticed is since I started doing this live, we're starting to see split opinion, right? When I first started, everyone, oh, she's guilty, she's guilty, she's guilty. Now you're starting to see the opinion of people is splitting. So if we are taking live guests, guys, can you run up the likes to 1,000? Right now we've only got like 70 likes. So run up the likes to 1,000, and once the likes have been run up to 1,000, then I'll take a guest on. And because of the current setup that we have, which is really good, if you're watching on YouTube, you will see that we can actually pull up evidence live on TikTok. Does that make sense? So we can challenge what people say now. If you guys are watching on our YouTube channel, which is State of Deception, you will now see that we are actually able to fact check people live and pull up information. So, you know, guys watching on YouTube, you'll see this, right? You can see this. That's my little Facebook. You can see the Streamlabs. So anything you guys want to check, we can pull it up. We can actually fact check. And that's why I'm trying to move people onto our YouTube page, because the YouTube page allows us to actually show evidence live. So everybody head over to YouTube and watch on YouTube. State of Deception. We're live right now on YouTube. But right, back to the live debates. We've got 159 likes. Guys, run up the likes, please. Tap the screen to like the live. Let's get to more of the comments. We Americans have Casey Anthony. She was not guilty by evidence. She obviously did it. She did not do it. Mike says, but what new evidence? Why is she not guilty? So the new evidence is the fact that the case originally was decided on medical expert evidence, which means that those medical experts need to be credible individuals who have presented information that is true and would be considered true by their peers, right? Every single one of the medical experts has been debunked. Letby was convicted of murders, alleged murders that took place when she was not present. The insulin evidence has been debunked. The air embolism theory has been debunked. All of the evidence has been debunked. The only reason why she's still in prison is because she was denied an appeal, because there is institutional rot and corruption in the public sector of the UK. Mike says, you're telling us she's not guilty, but not telling us why. I just gave him loads of reasons why there. Matt says, she'll never be freed, as that will mean other more influential people would be charged. Possibly, yes. It all depends on the extent to which we as a public are going to allow this rampant NHS corruption and organised crime to keep infecting and infesting our lives, because I've been a victim of NHS organised crime as well. They tried to frame me, they unalived my daughter and covered it up, and I know many other people whose children have been killed by the NHS who they've covered up their deaths. So the NHS and the trust of the NHS are an organised criminal mafia. You said, am I muted on YouTube? I think that's just you, because I can... Guys, remember, you can watch this stream on YouTube. NHS and the trust... That'll be you muted on YouTube, mate. I can hear it on YouTube right now. Would you prefer a private health system? I think a private health system, as in a mixed healthcare model, which most countries with a good healthcare system have, is better. People in the UK would consider that a private healthcare system, but it's actually a mixed healthcare model, which is both socialized and privatized. Some people say we have both, but like 99 or 97% or something of our healthcare is socialized healthcare. I think it would be better to be about maybe 50-50. Mixed healthcare with socialized healthcare. So people that are elderly, children, people with extreme chronic conditions, people that would otherwise be financially destitute, those people and not able to afford healthcare, those people I think should be able to get socialized healthcare. And then the people who can afford healthcare, I think they should get private health insurance. Allah says, we need a mixed health model, as you say. If we don't head towards that, the NHS will collapse. Thank you. I'm glad somebody else knows what's going on. And it's quite obvious. Even there was actually a news story that came out. Should I pull it up for the YouTube viewers? I'll pull up this story for the YouTube viewers. So this is Wes Streeting. He actually said that he said there won't be VAT on private healthcare, guys. So what does that spell for you? That means that it's possible that there's an expectation that more people will be getting private healthcare. So if you're on YouTube, you'll see this link that I'm pulling up right now on the State of Deception live YouTube channel. You guys check out the State of Deception. It's all one word. Streeting rules out VAT on private healthcare. That's what this story is saying. So yeah, what does that tell you? I mean, we can read a little bit about it. West Streeting has ruled out introducing value-added tax on private healthcare at the forthcoming budget. So there you go. And let's see what some of the comments are saying. Tax the gambling places. If the NHS worked properly, private healthcare wouldn't be necessary. It can't work properly because it's a socialised healthcare system. Eventually, it will inevitably fail, as will all socialised healthcare systems. We've got a smart comment here. Private healthcare takes pressure off the NHS, so those that can afford it should use it. I imagine taxing private healthcare will put more pressure on the NHS. Yes. Generally, there's something deeply wrong with government spending on public services. The amount of tax we pay is brutal, but our public services seem to be in constant decline. Something is rotten at the core, not just with the NHS. I'm glad someone else knows the truth. So this is the truth, guys. There's institutional rot in the public sector in the UK, in the courts, in the social services, in the NHS. Someone said, dude, stop talking and let me up. We can let you up. But we got 202 likes. We need more likes, guys. Tap the screen, boost us to 1,000. Jim says I'm waffling to nobody. We got 51 viewers on TikTok. I don't know how many viewers we got on YouTube. Yeah, the YouTube channel might not have many views. Oh, we got 3 people watching. It says 3 people watching on YouTube. Hi, YouTube, guys. So, and this is the thing. I've really just started streaming again on YouTube, so I can see why I wouldn't have that big of a YouTube following, guys. Come on, cut me some slack. But yeah, I would appreciate if everyone could go on to State of Deception and follow me. Samantha said, so if she didn't off the babies, who did? The babies died due to institutional issues. They died due to systemic failures. And we know that there are systemic failures in the NHS because there are many children that are dying due to systemic failures in the NHS. Not just the babies in the Lucy Letby case. And also, there's actually a ranking of NHS trusts. And I think... Countess of Chester, which was the hospital that the NHS that Lucy Letby worked at, was ranked number 2 from last, so bottom from second from last. Yeah, Countess of Chester Acute Hospitals is the second from last worst hospital in the entire UK. So what does that tell you if the government themselves are telling you that the hospital that Lucy Letby worked at is one of the worst hospitals in the UK? Right, and the very worst is Queen Elizabeth Hospital, King's Lynn. I've heard that one is terrible as well. The Nottingham University Hospitals Trust, the hospital that killed my daughter, they got ranked. I think they got ranked. Where are they? Let's see where Nottingham is. Thanks for the gifts. Nottingham is ranked. I think they were like 20th from bottom. So Nottingham got ranked higher than I thought they would. But as a teaching hospital, that's terrible, of course, because other hospitals are relying on them to provide information, evidence. I mean, there's a lot of teaching hospitals doing bad. All of these hospitals at the bottom, I've heard terrible stories about them. Birmingham, terrible stories about them. Blackpool. I mean, Blackpool is just a failing city in pretty much every metric. Prometheus says, welcome back. What's up, Prometheus? We can show the people that are watching on YouTube. So you get kind of a better viewer experience if you watch on YouTube. I know right now I've stretched out this thing, but I've just stretched it because after this I'm going to be watching the Lucy Letby documentary, and you can see that it kind of fits better like this. So that's the only reason it's stretched out. But for the YouTube viewers, can you see we've got the league table rankings of the NHS Trust, Acute Trust league table. So Moorfields Eye Hospital, I've been there. That's actually a good hospital. That's number 1. And then right at the bottom we had, we had Queen Elizabeth Hospital, King's Lynn, and right here, number 2, we've got Countess of Chester, the hospital that Lucy Letby worked at. We've got 75 people in the live. Guys, tap the screen to like the live and share the live. If everybody taps the live 100 times, we're going to get 7,500 likes. That's going to boost us to 8,000 likes pretty much. We could do with 8,000 likes. And yes, thank you for following me. Press the all-important button. If you're watching on TikTok, this button is the follow button. And also on YouTube, you want to watch on YouTube because on YouTube you get a better user experience, right? So on YouTube, you'll see that you can still see the TikTok live comments, which makes it a really interactive experience. But you can also see when I click on something on my computer. So if I'm debating or arguing with someone, then obviously we can see on the computer what I'm seeing. 92 people in the live. Let's get some of the YouTube comments. I love my YouTube family. Mervin says, to be fair, it has been 10 years since the death, so not sure how relevant the current rankings are. That's a very good point, actually. It's even possible, Mervin, that they ranked it low just for political reasons because they didn't want Countess of Chester to be seen to be a high-ranked hospital considering the Lucy Letby case. So it could be that as well. Okay. So what else we got? We got some people talking shit. Oscar said I'm delusional. How am I delusional? Joe says the experts had said there is no clear evidence of her directly doing anything wrong. So that would be, that would be the panel of experts in the Lucy Letby case, including Dr. Sue. And to be quite honest, we could actually play that video. I think you guys will hear it on both platforms if we just play the video. Should we play it? Let's play the video. I'll just leave it on live debates for now. So this is the live panel saying that there's no evidence of Lucy Letby murdering the babies. Okay, so guys, listen to this. It's not too long.
After the trial
I'll speed it up.
and the verdicts, the questions about Lucy Letby, the nurse found guilty of murdering babies, about the evidence, the experts and statistics.
Pay attention.
Stopped. It's been the opposite. And so today, in front of cameras from across the globe,
Okay,
alongside Lucy Letby's defence barrister, is the MP, Sir David Davis.
Right. What I think anyway.
Pay attention.
And two neonatologists who are part of a panel of international medical experts. They've put together what they say is an impartial, evidence-based report on the case. And this is their conclusion.
This is the conclusion.
In summary, ladies and gentlemen, we did not find any murders. In all cases, death or injury were due to natural causes or just bad medical care.
Did you hear that, guys? So when people ask how did the babies die, this is what Dr. Sue, and this guy, this is his evidence was relied upon by the prosecution for the bogus air embolism theory. So this is what Dr. Sue is saying.
Or just bad medical, ladies and gentlemen, we did.
They say it's an impartial, evidence-based report on the case. And this is their conclusion.
In summary, ladies and gentlemen, we did not find any murders. In all cases, death or injury were due to natural causes or just bad medical care.
In all cases, death or injury were due to natural causes or just bad medical care. Marie Cotterill says she admitted it recently. No, she didn't. Okay, so I don't know why you would spread that misinformation. Thanks for the repost, guys. Remember to keep tapping the screen. It's very easy. If you're watching and you're sitting here, you might as well just keep tapping the screen periodically. Tap, 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 tap. Because it boosts our likes, boosts us in the algorithm. Also, guys, remember, watch on YouTube. The YouTube viewer experience is good. I mean, YouTube family, are we not having a good time? We're having a good time on YouTube. And slowly but surely we're growing. So the YouTube channel is State of Deception. We're live right now, State of Deception. We've got 7 people watching on YouTube. So thank you, YouTube family. Obviously, if you're watching on TikTok, then you can see me here with the background saying Lucy Letby is not guilty. The NHS frames people. Okay, so I'm going to let people up now. So I'll let Hippers up. So we're taking our first guest. Okay, what's up, Hippers?
Yo.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. So what's he in jail for?
Say that again?
What's he in trouble for?
You don't know about the Letby case?
No, I know nothing about it.
Okay, so what's the point in kind of no offense, but there's no point coming up. You could kind of look up the case online.
So
it's a neonatal nurse. It's a neonatal nurse that was convicted of unaliving children. That's all. So yeah, I thought we were going to debate it, and I'll just drop you down only because I want you to kind of look into the case because we're taking debates, and also because we're streaming on YouTube, it's important that I try and do quality control. Okay, I just tried to accept another guest. I don't know if they're connecting or not. So if you want to request and debate, you can just press the guest request button. If you're on TikTok, it's at the bottom, and obviously you can just type Melanistic Marble's back. What's up, Melanistic Marble on YouTube? I'm interested to hear what the TikTok viewers think. Okay, I'm just going to respond to Chick Wheels 2 with my YouTube channel name. It's State of Deception. So if you guys want to watch on YouTube, you can also watch on YouTube. That's the YouTube channel name. Let me see if I can pin that. Can I pin it? I don't know if I can pin it. Okay, I can't pin it, but you guys can see that, right? State of Deception. Okay, this is such a disgusting thing to say. My mum knows one of the victims' family who's still so sad. Why is it a disgusting thing to say that someone has suffered a miscarriage of justice? Could you explain that? I would love if you could come up and actually debate your position. And just because your mum knows one of the family members, I mean, the family members obviously don't know what happened to their children because the initial inquests stated that the children died of natural causes. So obviously, that would mean that the families initially received a wrong verdict about what happened to their children, and again they have yet again received a wrong verdict about what happened to their children because there has been a miscarriage of justice, and the NHS frames people, covers up medical negligence, and throws people under the bus. And as Dr. Sue just told you, if you were listening, to the guy whose evidence was relied on by the
Death or
prosecution.
injury were-
He just told you.
In summary, ladies and gentlemen, we did not find any murders. In all cases, death or injury were due to natural causes or just bad medical care.
In all cases, death or injury were due to natural causes or just bad medical care. And do you know what's crazy? We're going to be reacting to the new Lucy Letby documentary right after this. Where's my soundboard? Where is my soundboard? I'm pulling up the soundboard. I'm bringing it back, guys. I'm bringing back the soundboard. We're going to be reacting after this to the Lucy Letby documentary live. And this is why I'm telling you guys, follow us on YouTube, because if you check us out on YouTube, you will see the setup's good, man. You know, we can watch stuff live now. You know? We can watch stuff live now. We got the soundboard back. We got the soundboard even. Oh my gosh, the quality is getting really good, man. Check us out on YouTube, State of Deception. Let's get to more of the comments. I saw one that I found quite interesting. It was somebody kind of saying something nice towards me. They said, I truly respect you for keeping this topic up every day, having been through something horrible with the NHS. Thank you so much, because it is because of my moral fortitude that I'm able to keep up this fight. And we are fighting against a tyrannical, evil, organized criminal mafia medical system. That's what the NHS is. That's what the trusts are. Make no mistake about it. They cover up deaths routinely. Natalie J says NHS are the worst kind of people when it comes to this kind of stuff. You know, I don't doubt that. Tap the screen to like the live, guys. We've got 3k likes. We've got 50 viewers. If everyone likes the live 100 times, we're going to get 5k likes. And that would really help us. That would boost us in the algorithm. Carol Harding says, Lucy has never said, I'm innocent. Yes, she has. She's pled not guilty. And she also wrote, I'm innocent on the piece of paper that people used to say that she that she confessed to what she did. So she's clearly maintained her innocence the entire time. In fact, I have an interview on my TikTok page speaking to somebody who actually was in prison with her. Should I play that? Oh no, you didn't think I'm gonna have the receipts these times. You see, this is what I'm saying. This is why I set up the platform the way I have. Let me pull up the receipts, because I spoke to someone who was in prison with her. Should we listen? Let's listen. If it will load. Come on, load up. Here we go. Okay.
She's guilty. But before I went to prison, I was like, yeah, she's guilty. But speaking to her in prison, she's such a nice lady as well. And she just talks so nicely, and she feels awful for the babies that have obviously passed away, but she is adamant she hasn't done it. And then when I left prison for my sentence, obviously looking up, I've read on it and I've read the books and stuff like that, and like she didn't do it.
Do you think that she's neurodivergent? Like, do you think she might have like autism or anything like that? Because some people have rumoured, I'm not saying she does, some people have rumoured that she might be a bit neurodivergent. What was your impression?
I mean, she was happy to have a conversation. She was very open about stuff. I wouldn't say she's really got autism. I've got autism myself, so... But
we won't get too much into that, but that's me interviewing somebody who was in prison with Lucy Letby. Department of Autonomy and Sovereignty on YouTube says, what are your thoughts on the argument put forth in the Channel 5 documentary that says the hospital was known to have severe issues, especially with contaminated water? I don't buy the contaminated water theory. I think they're saying it was contaminated with Pseudomonas. A lot of these bacterial things that they find on hospital wards are quite benign. I thought that was quite a poor justification for why a lot of these children died. And better suggestions have been put forward for why most of the children died. And you know, it's not uncommon for children to die due to medical negligence and then have it being attributed to something else. It doesn't necessarily have to be a systemic issue like contaminated water. I think it's more of a systemic issue with how wards are run, because I've seen how neonatal wards are run, and what they have is they have poor continuity of care, so information is getting passed on poorly between every shift. They also have a culture of bullying and a culture of refusing to take accountability, and that really negatively affects patient care. And then they also have really old and outdated equipment, and they hire, quite frankly, they hire many unintelligent and underqualified people, and they put them in positions of power, even through DEI and through, quite frankly, feminism. They put a lot of people who are not properly qualified in positions of power, and a lot of these types of people, they're not people that take accountability. They're not good at managing. They're not good at delegating. They're not good at organizing, and things go wrong. And when these things go wrong, the NHS covers up harm. We've got some comments that say just that. What was a comment I wanted to get to? What about the things that happened when Lucy wasn't around? Exactly. I actually have a table. I've got this on my phone, so I can't put it up for the viewers right now. But I have a table showing. Let's see, actually, table showing Lucy shift patterns. So I have a table showing that Lucy wasn't actually present for all of the things that happened on the ward. There was actually just misrepresented evidence. I've got it on my phone. We can put it up another time. Let's get to more comments. So what about the notes they found in her room? Genuinely curious. So they found a note in her room that was from that was a note that she was told to write by a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist, we don't know what the psychiatrist asked her, and it says, "I killed them on purpose because I'm not good enough to care for them." So that implies that she believes that she did something wrong because she's not good enough to care for them, right? She also wrote in the same note that she's innocent and that she's being framed. So I don't know if we can give too much credence to what was written on that note. The jury at the time did not know that note was actually a note that she was told to write by a psychiatrist. In addition, I have personal experience from speaking to other harmed families, other families that have been harmed by the NHS, that what they do is they provide you a service, a mental health service, and then they can actually get your notes, your own personal private notes from the mental health appointments, and then they use those notes against you in court when you try to sue them. Kevin says, not guilty, NHS has used her to take the bullet. Exactly. On YouTube, Department of Autonomy and Sovereignty says, are you going to stream the new doc here on YouTube, or should we all go and stream it ourselves? I'm going to stream it after this live. So once I end the TikTok live, I'm actually going to start streaming the documentary. So stick around, Department, and you're going to see us. I'm not going to even do this live for too long because I do want to stream the documentary. I want to watch it myself. I will probably start streaming the documentary maybe about 2 o'clock, something like that. Do we know who funded this new doc? What are the filmmaker's background? We can look into it. So the new documentary is this, for people watching on YouTube, Lucy Letby, Murder or Mistake. And we can look into who actually created this. I know the other one that was on ITV, I think, was created by Anouk Curry. Who knows, what's his name? What's his name? The guy, Richard, I can't remember his surname. But he's the statistician that is also saying Lucy Letby was framed. So let's see if we can find out who funded this. Lucy Letby, Murder or Mistake. So this is created by, why is it in German? Lucy Letby, Murder or Mistake. Yeah, I can't see anything about who funded the documentary or who it was created by. It just says Channel 4. I know that Channel 4 works with other agencies to do their filming as well, because that's what ITV does. I was in an ITV documentary about my daughter's case called Maternity Broken Trust. For the YouTube viewers, I'll actually get that up for you guys as well. Maternity Broken Trust. So this is the documentary that I was in about the Nottingham maternity scandal. So you guys can watch that on ITVX. Maternity Broken Trust. There's a Guardian article about it. It was actually nominated for a BAFTA as well. Got 4 out of 10. So that's Jack and Sarah Hawkins. So you can see Maternity Broken Trust. I think they put my name in this article actually. Hold on. Or did they? Amma, yeah. Can you see that, guys? Sharma and Amma were reported to social services for the hospital said not wanting their baby Adora to have oxygen after they raised concerns about the apparent dysfunction of the ventilator she was on. They are a black couple, and Amma feels race has played a part in the trust refusal to engage with them properly since Adora's death at 4 months. Again, you know, they wanted to push that racial narrative so bad. I'm not going to comment on it, but you know, I didn't tell them to say that. But just know that you know. Yeah, the individual stories are harrowing. Together they are a howl of grief and fury, marshaled by the Hawkins and others into a force for good. This is well written. Who wrote this? Was it Izzy? Who wrote this article? Lucy Mangan. Okay, I don't know Lucy Mangan. Very well written article. But yeah, you guys can check that out if you want to see more about my daughter's case. It's called Maternity Broken Trust. YouTube can see it. Richard Gill. Thank you so much, Mervin. Yeah, that's who it is. It got 4 out of 5. Oh yeah, there you go. Exactly. Mervin's fact checking me. Got 4 out of 5, not 4 out of 10. Sorry, Mervin. Yeah, I meant to say 4 out of 5. Thank you for that correction. Okay, can you pin the name of the program? Which program do you want me to pin? Chickwill says you are innocent only, guilt has to be proven. Well, Chickwill, some would say that Lucy Letby was proven guilty by a court of law. And I would say that she was framed, and even if she's been proven guilty by a court of law, we reserve the right to challenge her conviction, and that's why the court of appeal exists. So it's really weird that the Court of Appeal refused her an appeal. And it stinks of institutional corruption. It stinks of somebody high up saying, look, we can't afford the reputational damage from the fallout of people realizing that our NHS staff frame people and cover up deaths. Henry Rollins, let's get another guest up.
Hello.
What's up?
You're saying she's not guilty?
Yes.
Okay. What? Like, where is this coming from? Because I'm very confused.
Okay, so we both agree, right, that she was found guilty in a court of law, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it wouldn't make sense to say, if we're questioning that conviction, it wouldn't make sense to simply say she's guilty because she was found guilty, right? Because we're challenging that statement already. So what would make sense is when I consider whether she's guilty or not, I'm now looking into what evidence was used to convict her. You agree that it would be pertinent to look into the evidence used to convict her, right? To establish whether she's guilty or not?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so the evidence used to convict her was medical expert testimony from an individual called Dowie Evans and another individual called Ravi Jairam. And these individuals claim that she injected babies with insulin and that she injected babies with air, causing them air embolisms that resulted in their death. Now, Dowie Evans, the first testimony he gave about what happened to the babies is he said that she injected the babies in their stomachs with air. Then he presented, they were going to present an x-ray showing air in the baby's stomach as evidence that she unalived the baby. And then it came to pass that it was revealed that Lucy was not actually present on the ward when that baby had air in its stomach. So then what he did was he changed his theory and said, oh, she actually did an intravenous air embolism, and that's what caused the baby's death. And they said that because of the discoloration on the babies, which none of the staff present actually documented, they're saying, oh, there was discoloration on all these babies. It's characteristic of an it's characteristic of an air embolism, right? And this Dowie Evans, he claims to be an expert, but he's not actually a neonatal expert. He's actually a pediatric expert, which is somewhat distinct, right? So this is what Dowie Evans is claiming. But the problem with that is that the discoloration seen on the babies would only be seen via an intra-arterial air embolism. So he's now presented two methods that he thinks that Lucy Letby used to kill babies that both have been debunked. Now, he was relying, when he was saying that this air embolism method is how the babies died, he was relying on the work of somebody called Dr. Sue, right? Dr. Sue is a neonatal expert that wrote a book, I think, on air embolism. Dr. Sue has since come out and said that his work is being misused in the Letby case and that there's no evidence that the babies died of air embolism. This is Dr. Sue right now.
Okay, can I ask
listen?
We did not find any murders. In all cases, death or injury were due to natural causes or just bad medical care.
That's Dr. Sue. So he's saying his work is being misused. Sorry, what were you saying?
Right, okay. But has she not, did she or did she not say that she did it?
No.
She didn't, she said that she was not guilty. She's stating that she had nothing to do with those children passing away.
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to take her word?
No, I'm not taking her word. I'm analysing the evidence, and I can see through a perusal of the evidence that it's a sham case and there's some kind of institutional corruption whereby they are framing her to cover up medical negligence. And the government is doing an inquiry into the deaths on this ward called the Thirlwall Inquiry, and you can actually see that documents are continuously released that further elucidate that this is a coordinated effort by the consultants in the hospital to try to frame Lucy with the deaths. Right.
Okay. But do you not think this is quite damaging to the families to be putting out this live and to be doing this? Do you not think?
No, I actually think it's beneficial to them, and I would love if somebody would do something like this about me as well, about my daughter.
What about the evidence that you found in the house?
Can you tell me which evidence you're referring to?
There was journal/diary entries.
So there was notes that she wrote from a psychiatrist session, and then she was also found to have taken home some documents from work and they were alleging that some of those documents related to some of the babies that died. However, only like 1 or 2% of those documents were actually related to the babies that died. Most of them were just benign documents that had nothing to do with
Okay,
any babies.
but what about that 1% though? What about that 1 or 2%?
That's not
that
statistically significant when you're considering whether
I know,
that's relevant to if she was involved in the baby's deaths.
I don't know about this. See, I think this is quite I don't want to be personal, but do you have children?
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm just a little bit confused, man.
What are you
If I'm
confused
brutally
about?
honest. I'm just a bit confused about how you could be pushing this narrative that she's not guilty.
I told you I'm looking into the evidence.
But there was a lot of damaging evidence that to account for the fact that she did.
What was the damaging evidence that you saw?
Bear with me 1 second.
Are you gonna look up the evidence now? Or you could just say I didn't actually see the evidence. I saw a news headline. That would be more accurate statement, I think. Brennan says distraction technique. Some murderers actually do murder people. Yeah, we know that. Kate says you're debating people who don't have a clue. They're arguing with you on Google. Well, these still represent people in the population that need to be convinced and swayed. He hasn't said anything rude. He hasn't said anything too ignorant. So I don't see why I shouldn't engage with a conversation with him and see if he can actually, have an open-minded discussion with me about what convinced him. Swati-san says you're not a lawyer. Why would I need to be a lawyer? I'm actually a litigant in person, so I actually do my own legal. I've got like 5 legal cases live right now. I've got one against Guys and St Thomas. I got one against Nottingham University Hospitals Trust and Nottinghamshire County Council. I got one against a bus company, and I literally just sued UPS. I got multiple legal cases. I don't have to be a lawyer.
Okay.
All of us should be understanding the law. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, boss. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So there's. I was just going back to my notes.
Okay. Department says it's not a narrative. There's lots of evidence and documentaries to suggest the same. And we will be, guys, for everybody viewing on TikTok, we will be watching live the documentary on YouTube. So everybody needs to follow us on YouTube at State of Deception, because we're going to be watching, if you guys can see this on YouTube, Lucy Letby, Murder or Mistake. We're going to be watching this documentary live, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be so much fun.
So, right, sorry. So I've got it.
Yep. We're waiting. Come on, Henry.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I can't really go off my phone. I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want to misquote it. And if anybody's saying about my notes, it's just more about information I've got. I've just seen something. Bear with me.
Mervyn says, don't think the TikTokers have an attention span to what the documentary. I'm a TikToker.
Can I come back up in a second or two, just because I want to get this right? That's all. I don't want to get this wrong.
Sure. He's at least he's doing due diligence, Charlotte Fuller says, guys, this is clickbait. How is this clickbait? This is a robust live stream that's been meticulously created and orchestrated to provide maximum entertainment value to the people that want justice for my daughter and know that I'm excellent at exposing institutional corruption. And I'm exposing the corruption in my daughter's case as well. Unfortunately, I did just contact the NHS Counter Fraud Authority a few days ago about my daughter's case, and they said, we don't investigate this. Same thing that the local government ombudsman says, same things that the Parliamentary Health Service ombudsman says, same thing that the CQC says, the NMC, the GMC. All of these organizations are poised to protect the organized criminal mafias in the NHS. Beth says, what happened to your daughter? My daughter was killed on a neonatal ward by nurses and doctors who made numerous mistakes. Instead of admitting the mistakes that they made, they tried to frame us using social services, saying that we were a risk of significant harm to our children. They fabricated over 200 medical notes, and they have there are over 500 instances of fabrication and harassment, bullying, racism, etc. in my daughter's case, and then they've covered up her death in breach of Article 2 of the Human Rights Act. Melanistic Marvel says this is a dry, complex subject, not celebrity gossip or clickbait. Yeah, and if it was clickbait, it would be easy to debunk the things I'm saying. You could come on and challenge me, but a lot of you guys that disagree with me, when you get up here, you start shaking in your boots, heart starts beating. I know it. Thank you for the follow, Sarah. Thank you for the follow, S. Guys, tap the screen to like the live. Press the most important button in the live if you're on TikTok, the follow button. And also follow us on YouTube at State of Deception. Delilah says she's guilty and I'm disgusted by those that keep protecting her. Okay, Delilah. Okay. Joe says, why did the guy leave? Lucy says, where's Henry gone? He's gone to look something up. He's gone to do some Googles. John Biggin says poo-poo. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Nigerito says, she needs to be okay, I'm not going to say that word because we're live on TikTok. Brit Jones says, I swear the stupidest people come to debate you. I can't understand why they do it. I don't know. Charlotte Fuller says, well, this is a flop. How is this a flop? We're doing pretty well, actually. We're slowly gaining YouTube followers, YouTube viewers. And this is like my first live back since I've been on holiday, other than the test lives we've done. Fuck you, Charlotte. We don't like you. KDB says, keep talking, mate. This needs to be heard. You get me? Chick Will says, NHS paralyzed me, denied responsibility, lost notes. The NHS, the system is corrupted. Do you know what it is? Only some of us know, and they gaslight, they lie, and they use the media to convince the public that different things are happening than what actually are. They lie. Oh, we're underfunded. Oh, no. It's organized crime.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills when I'm trying to tell you guys what's going on, what I have experienced personally with the NHS, right? And idiots like Charlotte, who are too shy. You know, Charlotte's too shy. She's one of those people, like, she pretends to be a big, strong woman. She pretends. But when she goes to bed at night, she cries herself to sleep because she thinks about all of the things that she's done, all the lies that she's told, all of the, insecurities that she has. But when she comes on my live stream, she acts like a big, oh, look at me. That's what she acts like. But if you actually get her to come and debate, then her ass is gonna fall out her back because she's not one of them. She's not one of them ones. She's like a little lemming, She's one of the little lemmings. She can't size with me really like that. What's up, Suki?
Hiya. Hold on, let me just put my headphones in real quick. Okay, done. Hello.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say a massive thank you for bringing light to this topic, because what the majority of people do not realise is that we're potentially looking at the biggest miscarriages of justice that the UK has seen in modern history.
Yep.
For those who are doubting what we are saying, just take the time to look at the medical expert review that was released back in February, where they looked at all of the evidence, pieced it apart. Hold on 1 second.
No, sure. We're gonna get to you as well, Charlotte. Charlotte's back. They went off. Okay, Charlotte, you can speak now. I'd love to. Now, Charlotte, be careful because you might end up embarrassing yourself.
No. Don't talk about embarrassing yourself. I don't do narcissistic behaviours and I don't do manipulative behaviours, okay? So now we're going to talk on a level and we're not going to use the whole manipulative behaviour, okay?
Who's using manipulative behaviour?
Let me tell you something. You just tried to describe who I was by a few comments. Yeah. You said I wouldn't be brave enough to jump in this box.
Yeah, I use you for entertainment value.
Definitely. No. You're using this whole topic for clickbait.
Really?
And you don't like that I'm the one that picked it up. That's why you said you didn't like me. Then you want to pick up and tell me who I am and tell me that I wouldn't dare go on and come in this box.
And you did it. You took the bait. Well done.
You told me. No, stop. You told me that I'm not intelligent enough to come in this box.
Now you came on. So let's hear what you got to say.
And now I'm here. So
we'll hear if you're really intelligent or not.
Go ahead.
Go on. You tell us why you definitely know that she's...
You're the one you said
you don't have anything to say.
Oh,
That's
okay.
hilarious.
So don't do that. A woman that has done this to children would not have gone to jail with no evidence.
Tell us the evidence.
So you trying to clickbait the internet.
Tell us the evidence.
You picked the right person today because I bring.
I know. You're not the right one. This is small fry to me.
You tried to be narcissistic towards me. You don't.
This is small fry. Tell us the evidence.
You tried to use blackmail to get me in your box.
Tell us the evidence.
Okay. The evidence. She's in jail.
No.
The evidence.
So you're saying that...
You in the case.
Okay. Stop yapping and let me respond. Are you telling me that no one has ever been wrongfully convicted?
So do you know that in a case, there's a lot of evidence that don't get to be brought forward?
Tell us the evidence.
Listen, because the evidence that is brought is stronger now.
Tell us the evidence, you clown. Tell us the evidence.
You don't like it. You don't
Tell
like
us the
it, do you?
evidence.
You don't like
Tell
it,
us
do
the
you?
evidence.
Why are you getting mad?
Tell us
Why
the
are you getting
evidence.
mad? No. You said
You're a
to me
clown.
that I can't
You're a clown.
debate you.
Tell us the evidence.
Now why are you rattling now?
I'm
Why
not.
are
All you're
rattling
doing is
now?
trying to attack me. Tell us the
Tell
evidence.
tell me how not. Tell me how she did not do that.
No, you tell us
me.
the evidence that you saw
No,
that
you were
convinced
here
you.
telling us that she did not do that. So
Yeah,
I said
I've
to
gone
you,
over the
she
evidence
did
multiple
do
times,
that.
but your brain is like
And
a
you
pea
called me
brain. You
out.
have a peanut
No,
in your
you
head
called me out
floating
to
in the
say
center
she
like
did
that
do
fucking
it.
SpongeBob episode.
No,
That's what
we
you
can
got
all
in your
talk
head.
posh,
That's why
darling.
you
We
can't
can all
actually say
produce
anything
our
about the
words very
evidence.
well, darling.
Tell us the
Do you understand? We can all
evidence.
do that, darling.
Tell us the
So don't
evidence.
try and do it
What do you mean
with
we
me,
can
I'm
all
the
do that?
wrong
You
one.
can't size me. You're not witty
You're
enough
the
to speak
one.
to
I
me.
said
That's
to
why you're
you
yapping.
that
You're
this
scared.
woman has
You're scared to
definitely
get into
done
the
it.
nitty gritty
And you
with
are
me. You're
using
shook.
the internet
You're
to
shook to get
clickbait
into the
us.
nitty gritty with
And
me.
then you
That's why you're
said-
yapping.
So you tell
You're
us how
yapping.
she did not do it. Tell us then.
You're yapping like a scorned woman that got
saying
beat and
she did not do it.
deleted.
We're saying she did.
You're
So you
yapping
tell
on my
us,
life.
right,
Come
right,
and
go
tell
on.
me the evidence. Tell me the
Go on.
evidence.
Go on. You tell me where the evidence is not. Come on.
You're a clown.
How is she wrongfully in jail? You tell me how that is.
You're a clown.
telling us that Lucy Letby
Tell
is
us what
not
evidence you
guilty.
saw that
You're
convinced you
telling
that she's
us
guilty.
and I'm telling you that she is guilty.
So you're saying
telling
no
me she's
one
not.
has ever been
She
wrongfully
is guilty.
convicted.
So you're telling me that she's not. So you tell me where you know better than the courts. You was in this case. apparently.
Yeah,
So
that's
you
what I've
tell
been
us.
doing all live. You haven't been listening. What I've been telling you is that the evidence in the case is medical expert testimony, and the medical expert testimony has been debunked. She was convicted of murdering people when she wasn't present on the ward. The person whose evidence was relied on by the medical expert evidence, whose name is Dr. Sue, has come out and said that his medical papers are being misused. In addition, Dr. Dowie Evans said that there was an intravenous air embolism, and in fact that it was actually an intra-arterial air embolism that would have caused a discoloration on the baby. He's already changed the story about what killed the baby twice, right? And then you've got the insulin case. You realize that the prosecution's case is that Lucy Letby injected a bag with insulin, put it in the fridge, went on holiday, and then another nurse transfused the insulin into the baby when she wasn't present. They transfused insulin into a glucose bag when insulin and glucose are counteract each other. So she put insulin into a glucose bag, transfused it into a baby while she was on holiday, right? Is that according to you? Then they suggest stop. Don't interrupt me, woman. Don't interrupt me, woman. Woman, don't interrupt me, right? Woman, don't interrupt me when I'm speaking. Don't interrupt me when I'm speaking. Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. Because the thing with you is people don't put you in your place. That's your problem. That's why you're yapping on my life, embarrassing yourself.
I'm going to check your
That's why you're yapping on my wife, because nobody ever puts you in your place. You're talking nonsense. You're talking nonsense. What evidence? Tell us what I just said that you don't understand. Tell us.
Getting mad that you have to try and degrade a woman. Go on.
I'm degrading you. I'm degrading you, woman. There are women that I don't degrade. I'm degrading you. I'm degrading you. I'm degrading you. There are intelligent women. There are intelligent women that know how to speak, know how to behave. There are intelligent women that support my life. There are intelligent women that support my daughter. You are a clown. You are a bad example for women. You are a bad example for women. Yeah, people don't hold you accountable. You're used to coming on a yapping. You're used to coming on a yapping. No one puts you in your. Look at you. Look at how you're behaving. This is going to be someone's girlfriend. Look at how you're behaving on. Look at how you're behaving on life. And this is the problem: is that women like this, nobody ever puts them in their place. Nobody ever tells them, look at this behavior. If a man was behaving like this, they'll say, you're an embarrassment. You're behaving like a fool, right? When you say it to these women, when you say it to a woman like this, look how she behaves. You're a clown. You're a clown. You're a clown.
You threatened me. You said to me,
I threatened you.
Oh,
I threatened you. Wow. I threatened you, did I? Wow. Everybody follow us on YouTube. Follow us on TikTok. We got this is the follow button. Follow us on YouTube at State of Deception. We got this yapping crack addict yapping away on my live. She's yapping away on my live. Right? Yeah, you bring the views. You bring the views. You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing yourself.
You're embarrassed. I'm going to leave you to embarrass yourself right now.
You raised no points. You raised no points. You raised no points. Claire's Law.
Do you think if my 19-year-old
Claire's Law?
Like
you're gonna falsely accuse me because that's all you have. You're weak. You're a weak coward. You're a weak coward. All you have is yap and false allegations. That's why. That's all you got.
So where's your point?
That's all. I just raised multiple points, and you started yapping away.
There's none. They're all invalid because she's in jail. So sit down.
So no one has ever been falsely convicted before.
You lost.
So no one has ever been falsely convicted before, according to this silly crack addict that's just jumped on my life. She does crack, guys. You know, if she's going to falsely accuse me, I can falsely accuse her. She's actually a crack addict. She's a recovering crack addict, so that's why she's behaving like that, guys. But, you know, have some sympathy for her, you know. A recovering crack addict there. So, you know, I have no problem with crack addicts. I just want her to get the help that she needs. Charlotte Fuller, guys, she actually admitted to me in the DMs, you know, you want to falsely accuse me, you know, Lucy Letby, it's okay for her to be falsely accused. Let's falsely accuse you, right? Charlotte Fuller, a known crack addict that's in recovery. Guys, come on, like, send her some links, some support links that she can use to help her addiction. Because I want all people that have problems with addiction to get the help that they need, you know? This is an equal opportunity live. We don't tolerate discrimination, harassment, bullying of any kind. But we give the energy back. You know, when you got these fools that come on, bro, guy, record scratch, right? Record scratch, right? Imagine this being your girlfriend. Can you imagine this being your girlfriend? Imagine. And it's too easy for me dealing with these fools. This is what they want. This is all they have. Because when I raised the points, she couldn't contend with them. It made her feel insecure. She's probably felt insecure for most of her life. And this is how she deals with men, because she doesn't know how to behave around men. She doesn't know how to be respectful. She probably was raised by a mother that treated her father like this. So she's disrespectful, right? She doesn't know how to be feminine and eloquent, right? So this is how she behaves. Because this is the only way she can truly get attention. This is the only way people actually care about her or listen to her, is when she tries to stimulate this kind of reaction from people. So I gave her the energy that she wants. This is the energy that you need to give idiots like this. You got to put them in their place, right? And, you know, when the women come on and they're respectful, when the men come on and are respectful, you know, you give them the respectful energy. When they want to come on and act like a ghetto clown, we're going to put the ghetto clown in the place, right? We're going to put the ghetto clowns in their place, right? It's too easy for me. It's too easy for me. What's up, TK?
Hi, by the way, it's Suki.
What is it?
Just changed accounts. It's Suki. I changed accounts. I was on before Charlotte. But yeah, just to carry on with what I was saying, I feel as if this is probably potentially because I feel like where I stand is Lucy Letby not guilty completely? We can't say that for certain. But what I can say is that based on the evidence that came from the medical panel, it's safe to say that the conviction is unsafe.
Yes.
And she's entitled to a retrial. Purely on the back of every single piece of evidence that the prosecution put forward. You have to remember back then, like when the trial was going through, we didn't have access to that information. We just had access to what the press showed. So back then, I'm not even going to lie, I thought Lucy Letby was guilty.
Yeah.
I was absolutely certain of it. And I remember my boyfriend thought she was innocent at the time, and he asked me, oh, what do you think? And I said, provided that there are no other variables within the hospital that could have led to those babies' deaths, so whether it may be the ventilation, whether it could have been sewage, and we know that that unit had issues with raw sewage where they had sewage flowing into their sinks. Provided that there were no other variables or nothing else that could have led to those babies' deaths, then I'm certain that Lucy Letby committed those murders.
Well, I used to think that she did it as well, because I had a bias, because my daughter was killed by a neonatal nurse, right? So I had a bias against neonatal nurses, and I had to be mature and address my bias and not paint everybody with the same brush. I even had issues of PTSD when I was dealing with women of certain races, the races of people that unalive my child, and I had to mature myself and recognize that not everybody is a representation of the individuals that I was harmed by. That's how adults behave. They don't behave like Charlotte. You know, Charlotte is one of those people that have never been properly accosted by the requisite force that's necessary to shut her up and keep her in her place. That's why she behaves in this manner. To behave like this in public is asinine. It's repugnant. And the truth is, you got to put idiots like this in a place. But granted, I have the ability to self-reflect, and the truth is I had to recognize that not all neonatal nurses are bad like the neonatal nurses that unalive my daughter. And I started looking into the case, and there are actually parallels between my daughter's case and also Lucy Letby's case. in terms of the babies that died. So I was already looking into the neonatal deaths on the wards, the issues in the NHS, and ultimately I realized that there was not enough evidence to convict this individual. And the truth of the matter is that you cannot be convicted of a murder that has not been proven to have taken place.
Right.
When the police do their investigation, before even forwarding their evidence to the CPS, the first investigation they do is has a crime taken place, right? And if they cannot prove that a crime has taken place, then there will not even be enough evidence to the CPS will not even consider that there's enough evidence to charge. So they are alleging that this crime took place, that there was an intravenous air embolism and that killed the baby. They are alleging that this insulin was injected into the baby and that's what kills the babies. There's no evidence that Lucy Letby did any of that. And without that evidence, there's no case. And Lucy Letby will be acquitted. She will be. It's just a matter of time. And because we have fools in the population, like Charlotte, who behave like this, they're ignorant, they don't look into things, they are easily swayed by the media, they put a lot of faith in the system. Because we have people like this, it's difficult. It's an uphill battle to try to persuade people when there's been a miscarriage of justice. But we know that this is our duty as citizens to hold the system accountable. And the problem in the UK is we have this balance shifted way in favor of the system's power, and we need as people to start exercising our ability to hold these sectors accountable, to organize, to expose what is going on. Guys, tap the screen to like the live, press the follow button, the most important button in the live. We got this clown Charlotte who I'm using as a lol cow to get more followers.
There's someone in the comments who said if there was no evidence, she wouldn't be in jail. But the main issue at hand here is the fact that the evidence has been misconstrued. With Dr. Shu's paper that he released in the 80s, I believe, that was on venous embolisms, he posted that for venous embolisms.
Intravenous,
He didn't look at arterial embolisms at all.
Exactly.
At all. And when he found out that the prosecution had misconstrued his evidence, he was so insulted, he was so shocked, that he went back and created another paper for arterial embolisms and said, look, if you're going to do it properly.
Yeah.
Here's the evidence. And even still, the new evidence that I've now gone out of my way to, find doesn't align with what you're trying to put forward in court. It doesn't at all. And for people like Charlotte, all I can say is please, guys,
No.
look into the medical.
No,
panel.
TK, please don't say anything.
TK,
because please don't say anything. I just want to make sure don't say anything horrible to Charlotte. She's a recovering addict.
I'm not.
So just be careful.
I'm just saying to people like Charlotte, people who are adamant that Lucy is 100% guilty. Please look at the panel findings. I'm a researcher. I work in epidemiology and I've dabbled into neonatology. I've worked with people who are colleagues with the experts, who are in this panel.
Yeah.
These people are the real deal. They're world-renowned. They're world-renowned experts. They're not going to stand in front of the whole world and say something that isn't true.
I know multiple medical experts that have come out and said she's not guilty. Richard Gill, who's the statistician that got Lucia de Berg off of her case, who Lucia de Berg actually recently passed away, so rest in peace Lucia de Berg. I know Richard Gill personally, and I've spoken to him at length about my case and about the Letby case, and he's adamant that she's not guilty. There's no evidence of murder. So I know many experts that have come out and suggested that she's not guilty. And by the way, I just want to address something. Women in the chat, can you actually see this woman, Charlotte, wants to misuse the Clare's Law reporting service because somebody said she doesn't like? What can be more misogynist than somebody undermining reports of abuse? Imagine that. So there are real women that are being abused, and you've got this woman, Charlotte, who's telling you openly in public that she's going to misuse the Clare's Law reporting service and undermine the credibility of women who have actually been abused simply because she wanted to be abusive online, and she got put in her little place because she has a small pea brain. She got put in a place in front of hundreds of people, and now she wants to make false allegations. And this is the problem that we're dealing with in society. These women who they use the system to make false allegations against people, and unfortunately you have men as well that make false allegations against people, and you have also NHS staff that make false allegations against people, and women, men, NHS staff, whoever you are, if you're making false allegations against people, you should be put in your place, you should be accosted, you should be held accountable. And people like Charlotte, they don't last long. they never really achieve much success in society because she doesn't know how to behave. And imagine being her boyfriend, guys. In fact, I think her boyfriend is in a great relationship because he gets all that pent-up charge energy. Yeah, but he needs to be careful because she's trying to direct all of her like emotional energy towards me. And I think maybe she has a crush on me, guys. I think she has a crush on me. So he's in a great relationship right now because he's getting all of this pent-up energy. And he I'm sure it's a great release after a long day's work, right? But right now she's directing all that energy at me. She's got a crush on me, guys. But I don't go for recovering addicts because I actually don't want to exploit anybody, and I think she should get help and she should deal with the addiction first, and then maybe we'll see. But she's not really my. I mean, let's have a look at Charlotte. I'm sure she's good. Yeah.
I personally think we should stick to the topic. This is kind of derailing the whole point of the live, to be honest with you. So yeah, I just came up here to say, look, like.
I think she's got a crush on me. I think she's got a crush on me. TK, I think she's got a crush on me. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. See you later, TK. We'll talk another time. Right. Suki. Yeah, she's got a crush on me, guys. That's what it is. Oh yeah. Yeah, she's got a crush on me. Betamax, I don't know if you're connecting. We're still taking live requesters. TK just wow. Don't come for TK. That's my G right there, Suki. That's my G. Yeah, Charlotte's got a crush on me, guys. Charlotte's got a crush on me. Guys, tap the screen to like the live. Press the follow button as well. Nothing proves reasonable doubt as much as film 12 Angry Men from 1957. It's true, like, there's been so many public miscarriages of justice that for people to act like simply because somebody was convicted, that means that they definitely are guilty and that there's no way. I mean, there's a court called the Court of Appeal. The reason the Court of Appeal exists is for people who have been wrongfully convicted. So to say someone must be guilty because they were convicted, that is ridiculous because, yeah, you can treat them as if they're guilty until they've had their appeal. But Lucy Letby hasn't had her appeal, you know? She hasn't had her appeal. Charlotte, you're right. They were going to go when I stopped commenting. So that's why we're keeping you here as a locale. We're just using you as an example of the type of person that still thinks Lucy's guilty. You're the poster child for ignorance right now. So we're just making an example of you. You can go anytime you need. Nobody's forcing you to stay, Charlotte. You obviously love the look of my face. That's why you want to sit here and continue having a good look at me. Yeah, look at me. Go on. Mwah. There you go. Yeah, that's what you look. Look, can you see? Look at the skin, man. Come on. Charlotte, we know that's why you're still here. You just like the look of me. That's what it is. You like the look of me. I know you're smiling right now. She's smiling. She's giggling right now. See, we can't see it. We can't see her. We can't see it. See, she's look at that, Charlotte. I'm giving you that googly feeling in your stomach now. She's like, he's actually kind of funny, you know. So we got off on the wrong foot. That's what Charlie's thinking. She's thinking, oh, we got off on the wrong foot, didn't we? He's actually funny. She's smiling at the screen right now. Charlotte, is your heart your heart's pumping a bit, innit? Yeah. Yeah, come on, Charlotte. Charlotte's smiling. She even said the laughing emojis. I had her giggling, man. You got I think your man needs to come get you, Charlotte. I'm the type. Your man needs to come get you. Kamar says, oh gosh, stick to the topic, sir. We're not here to listen about Charlotte. Mate, you can leave whenever you like, man. This is my live. Like I said, we're using Charlotte as a locale to get more views. Department says, I'm on mute. We'll be back soon watching episode 1. John Biggins. Do you know what? I actually enjoy my YouTube viewers a lot, and the YouTube family. Nobody says we can't block them. Let's remove let's get rid of John Biggins because I want the YouTube family to. Oh, he's just this guy definitely would love it. Let's just leave him. He's funny. Would love a Diddy party. Okay. We've got 100 people in the live, guys. Tap the screen to like the live. Press. If you tap the screen, we're gonna get 10,000 likes. That will help our live, won't it? Charlotte says, "Let's go, guys. Bye, abuser." Charlotte, you abused me. I felt really abused by the way you treated me. Do you know what? I'm gonna do a Claire's Law on you. Yeah. That's right. Claire's Law. I'm gonna do one on you too. You know we can do it on women too, right? Don't be sexist and think that Claire's Law is only for men. I'm gonna do a Claire's Law on you. Yeah. Oh wait, Claire's Law is actually for people who have actually been convicted. You didn't even know that, did you? You can't just say, oh, we're going to put this on his record now. You get laughed at, just like you've been being laughed at for this whole life. Samam says you talk like you're educated, but you don't act like it. I can act how I want. I can talk how I want. Nah. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. You're just yapping online. Department says the first talking head isn't identified, so no idea who he is or why we should listen to him. The stock footage overlaying his speech is inexplicably from the 1950s. This is just bizarre. I don't know what you're referring to, Department. Delilah. Yeah, Delilah, you're one of those brown-nosing girls. You know the brown-noser girls? You know the girls that, like, they have no, like, strong personality, so all they do is, like, go for the girl club. Like, yeah, we're team girl. Like, I'm just going to defend them no matter what they say because they're a girl. You're, like, one of those brown-nosed girls. Like, yeah, you're one of those, those pocket-holding girls. Yeah, let's just ask this girl because she's a girl. You're one of those brown-nosing girls. Nobody respects girls like you, man. Come on. You're like a brown-noser. That's like a beg friend thing to do. Like, oh, I'm just going to defend them. You're like a beg friend. That's like the beta male of women is like the beg friend girl. That, oh, I'm just going to stick up with you because you're a girl. Charlotte, you're not exactly hard to analyze. You just... Charlotte, it's okay. You can't come back from it. I already made you do the laughing emojis, so I know I gave you the googly feeling in your stomach, and you giggled. You literally did emojis that showed that you're giggling. How are you gonna come? You can't even be rude to me after now. You can't come and be rude now because you giggled. I made you giggle. So now, like, you can't say nothing because, like, you was giggling. You sending them, you sending it again. I made you giggle. So now, at the end of the day, it's done. It's done. You can't come and act like, oh, we got beef. But now I made you giggle. So you was giggling like a little girl. Let's get somebody else on. You was giggling like a little girl. I made you giggle. Perpetrators. What's up?
Away scot-free.
Charlotte, you gonna send me a tenner? What do you want me to do? Tick you for a 20? We know you're a recovering addict. So if you send me a tenner, I'll tick you for a 20 back. Go on. Yeah, there you go. Because I know you need the 20, man. Your addiction is getting. I think what you should do is, since you like me so much, you should try and transition your addiction, your substance addiction, to an addiction to watching my lives. Because you clearly like watching me. You clearly like the look of my face. So you like to come on my live, have a good look at me and all that. You know what I mean? So I think you should just. You know, like how they have the pharmacy drugs for the people that have the severe addictions. Yeah, you want to transfer that addiction over to me. Oh dear. Anyone trusting this guy as a lawyer has no chance. I didn't say I was a lawyer, mate. Maybe says the art of nagging. It's not your face, it's your ridiculousness that's amusing. So you're giggling too, Delilah. Delilah, you're giggling as well. I got the girls giggling, guys. Lucy says this is getting too juvenile. Leave. Nobody's asking you guys to stay. We got 86 people in the live, guys. Tap the screen to like the live. Charlotte thinks narcissistic men fall apart when they meet her energy.
I mean, just to sort of move on, if we may. So Lucy Letby being not guilty. Now that someone mentioned earlier on that you can't be 100% sure that Lucy Letby's innocent. Obviously, that's not the test. The test is, can you be sure she's guilty? That's the way the criminal justice system works. You have to prove something beyond a reasonable doubt. And that means that if a reasonable explanation exists, then that's not consistent with being guilty. Now, in a lot of cases, you have statistical evidence being presented, and quite frankly, how are you going to interpret stats? They're really not easy to understand, especially because we don't have like a day-to-day comparator to think about, like how many people. What does it mean? If you give someone a 1 in a billion chance, what does that sound? Are
you saying for a layman? You're saying like they're not easy to understand for a layman?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, if you're like an actuary or a statistician, that's your bread and butter. But interpreting stats is actually really hard. Like, I don't, what does a 1 in a million chance mean? If it sounds like a lot, but it doesn't depend on the context. It doesn't necessarily, and things can be remote, but that doesn't mean that someone's guilty.
I mean, I had this discussion with Richard Gill. He's a statistician, and Richard actually wanted to submit evidence in the Letby case. He was a mathematics professor and a statistician. He got Lucia Burge off of her case. That was another neonatal nurse in the Netherlands who was convicted of unaliving children, and she was actually she actually won her appeal. And Richard Gill was heading to that. Lucy, oh my gosh, I'm reading too many things at once. Richard Gill was involved in that case, and he wanted to testify in the Letby case. This is what he told me. And he said that Cheshire police came to his house in the middle of the night and said that if he tries to get involved in the case, he can be arrested. But when I spoke to him, he was basically saying that the statistical evidence in the Letby case has all been misrepresented, and that he thinks it's a significant problem in cases like this, in medical negligence cases, whereby they're presenting evidence that is difficult to understand for a layman. And obviously this is an issue I have with medical expert evidence, is that it's given more credence than the evidence of a layman. Fine, but what that means is that when medical experts are lying or covering up, they basically have carte blanche to just say whatever they want in their medical expert testimony, and then people get convicted wrongfully, right? In addition, it's similar with the statistical evidence. There's no statistician that came up for the defense. I don't know that a statistician came up for the prosecution, and there are responsibilities that medical experts have. I think they have to have like civil procedure rules, Part 17 compliant testimony.
It'll be criminal procedure rules. It'll be the criminal procedure rules. So
say that again.
A criminal case. It'll be the criminal procedure rules. Criminal procedure rules. Yeah, so they have to have compliant. They have to give evidence about their background.
Right, but what I'm saying is there's responsibility. So even if a medical expert is lying, that doesn't necessarily mean that a statistician would come up and lie about the statistical evidence. Does that make sense? So what I'm saying is there needs to be more credence given to the strength of evidence, and maybe they need to even get experts to come up and actually hash out what the statistical evidence is. I think one of the main problems in the Letby case is that her defense seems to have been quite poor.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's very difficult to say, because unless you're in the trial, you can't really say what's happening. Firstly, as I understand it, there was attempts to adduce evidence which the judge didn't allow to be adduced on behalf of the defence. It does seem, and one thing you've got to understand as well, the expert that the prosecution rely on seems to be kind of, and you also had this in the baby shaking case. I can't remember. Do you remember that baby shaking case where there was a doctor who had basically he kind of developed a theory about symptoms which evidence the baby shaking, which were later found to be, unfounded. And there was a whole host of baby shaking cases where people had, been convicted wrongly. And you kind of get these experts who come up, and then they become the prosecution always go to them, because the prosecution always go to the experts that they think are going to, if you think an expert is completely even-handed, right? You're living in cloud cuckoo land. These guys get paid wedge to regularly go to court and give evidence. So if you find, experts, not all, but a lot of experts will find themselves being instructed regularly by the prosecution or by the defence. You'll find psychiatrists giving evidence for the prosecution regularly. You'll find, in the same way, you'll find, more. You'll probably find a more fruitful kind of, a broader range of defence expert evidence. But what you'll have is that expert in Lucy Letby's case seems to have created his own little niche for
Oh, you're talking about Dowie Evans?
Yeah, it seems like his own. But to challenge that, right? If you're a legal aid lawyer, you try getting hold of somebody to actually unpick that, because you try getting a neurologist or whatever it may be, a consultant to give evidence on stuff, and it's actually very difficult because these guys get paid much more than legal aid rates will pay them. So, and sometimes they'll waive the rates, but it's very hard to get these people, even on a novel area of law, to even find the right expert. To get them to respond, there might be like one person in the country who deals with that. And they, it's not easy, and it's not necessarily easy. Sometimes they might be interested, sometimes they're just busy with their own shit going on. Do you know what I mean? So it happens all the time. It's not, and it's what's interesting about this is it's a confluence of loads of different. It's an emotive subject, baby deaths, someone always wants to find a reason, right? I don't believe the NHS. I don't believe the NHS framed her. I imagine it was more kind of organic than a specific, person looking to frame someone, because, that's a very vindictive thing to do. I imagine probably blame shifting happened, and effectively that resulted in, and she was probably unpopular, and that resulted in her being, she's, singled out.
Yeah, I mean, you're providing a much more rational analysis than the blunt and charged language that I sometimes use. But the truth of the matter is that is tantamount to framing someone if you continuously shift blame. Because any analysis of how, like human social dynamics, and if you can do even mathematical analysis and see that stuff like this spirals. At every level of blame shifting, it compounds the issue until you get to a point like someone's in prison. At every stage, it seems like someone's just, they're just kind of avoiding accountability. But then it spirals and it snowballs when accountability is shifted onto other people.
Things take on their own specific momentum, right? So once the police become involved, the police don't act. I mean, the police are supposed to act kind of neutrally as investigators, but they'll really have a hypothesis that they're working to prove. They're not looking to sort of look for inconsistent evidence, right? They're just not. And if you think that, then you're not living in the real world. Police officers invested, in getting a conviction. All right, they won't necessarily admit. They might not even consciously know that, but because they probably believe that the person they're investigating is guilty. Otherwise, why would they be investigating them, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, when you have such an incompetent, when you have such incompetent people in our public sector, it borders on criminal negligence. Like there's some level of due diligence that has to be done. I know you're kind of trying to present a more rational argument. You're kind of using Occam's razor, like, okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone framed, maybe it's just, some kind of, compounding, systemic issue. And I agree with you. But the truth is, the level of incompetence is so severe that it requires a severe response in terms of the language used, the analysis around it, because we're dealing essentially with probably one of the worst miscarriages of justice in in UK history.
I mean, it's certainly one of the miscarriages of justice. What impressed me, and it's moving in or there, is the way that her family and friends stood by it.
Yeah.
Because, but that's just a shooting from the hip. It just seemed odd to me that someone would invest their life in that particular, it's not a lot of money in being a nurse. And the reality is, though, when people die, or people, there's always going to be people looking for blame. Like, in the same way that you have, and there's always a moral outcry. Like, people, say someone's a car accident, right? And someone's, careless driving is a very low test, right? Do you fall below the standard of a careful and competent driver? That's the test, right?
Yeah.
That's very easy to fall below the standard of it could just be a momentary lapse of attention that results in someone, they're walking out in front of the car, you'd look the other way, and boom, that's it. They fall over, they die, they hit their head in the ground. That's it. And you're then convicted. And, they could charge you with death by dangerous, death by careless, but previously, sentencing for that sort of stuff was relatively low, but because of constant public outcries, you find people who are genuinely involved in accidents facing jail time, who, kind of just, they didn't really do anything wrong. There's nothing, because you can't be attentive all the time. People will make mistakes. But in the same way, in this instance, you kind of have, there's a moral outcry looking for the person, human cry, looking for the person who's culpable for all of these babies dying.
A witch hunt, if you will.
Sorry?
A witch hunt.
Yeah, well, they're looking for a reason. Yeah, they're looking for a reason. Because everybody wants to pin their grief on something. It can't be the cruelty of fate that's taken their child away from them.
I don't think but it wasn't the parents that were spearheading the investigation, so nobody was trying to pin grief on anyone. It was the consultants that referred the cases to the police. The inquest found that the babies died, some of them didn't even have an inquest. They found that the babies died of natural causes. So I don't think anyone was trying to pin anything on anyone. I know many different people that have lost children, and not all of them are trying to pin it on someone. Some of them just want answers about what happens, and usually when they get the answers given to them by the NHS, usually they believe it. I don't think all this was spearheaded by the parents.
No. Look, I'm not saying that it's specifically anyone who's looking for it. I'm just saying once the drum starts to beat, and you've got consultants, and consultants may have been suspicious, right? They may have been suspicious.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that those suspicions are reasonably founded. And then you start to have it becomes a narrative. A trial's it's a story, isn't it?
But don't you think? I think you're giving them too much leeway. Because don't you think at the point when it becomes obvious that there's been systemic issues, cover-ups, frame-ups, false statements, don't you think that then there's now a duty to actually do the right thing? And when they continue to cover up and continue to misuse the media to present false narratives, and when they continue, and when she gets denied an appeal, now you're talking about corruption. For example, my daughter died. Hold on. You spoke a lot. Just let me respond. For example, my daughter died due to systemic failures on the hospital. I don't believe anybody killed her on purpose. I don't believe that she was murdered. I believe that there were systemic issues from them not listening to the parents, having bad handovers, and she died as a result of medical negligence. Now, the truth is, what was worse, and as a parent that's lost a child, what was worse was the cover-up. I can contend with losing a child. Everybody dies, this is the cruelty of the world that we live in. What makes it wrong, what makes it worse, is when they cover up. So you can't take away the accountability in the Letby case on the people that they clearly know there's been a miscarriage of justice, and instead they're covering up, they're protecting themselves. That is the inexcusable part.
I mean, well, the problem is that once you get people who are invested in the case, right? They are, the people charged with it, the CPS. They have a duty to constantly review stuff and disclose stuff, and every now and again that happens. Every now and again it doesn't. Right? That's the truth of it. There's loads of we had. It's not been that long ago that we had Jerry. What's his name? That guy, Jerry Hayes, involved in a grape case over in Kingston. Where he
I don't know about that.
Well, he suddenly took over a case, and there was exonerating text messages which relation to consensual activity, which demonstrated the innocence of the defendant, but it effectively hadn't been disclosed, right? And he read it, disclosed it, resulted in a new review process in the Crown Prosecution Service, which gradually eroded and has gone to shit. But the system's kind of people who are prosecuting usually have a belief in what they're prosecuting, right? Because otherwise they can drop it. The Crown Prosecution Service can make that decision.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're deliberately choosing to not drop something when they know someone's innocent?
But the thing is, I agree with you. CPS made a decision to charge. What's worse? Let me ask you a question. What's worse? The CPS deliberately being corrupt, or the CPS being so inept that people can be charged, and then juries being so inept that people can be convicted of crimes that they obviously haven't committed? I would argue it's even worse when they're so inept, because that shows that they don't even know what's wrong with themselves. They don't even understand where they're wrong. It's almost worse when it's happening due to ineptitude, because that's an indictment of our society. It's an indictment. It shows that this probably happens all the time, and people are none the wiser. So it would almost be worse if it's almost worse that it's actually down to.
Do you know what the test is for bringing a prosecution, for making a decision in relation to prosecution?
Making a decision with relation to the CPS prosecuting.
Yeah,
it's on the balance of probabilities. Yeah.
So effectively, they have to be on the balance of probabilities. They're more likely to achieve a conviction than not, right?
Yeah.
So, and they did achieve a conviction. So, looking at it just from a factual kind of analysis, that's not the system being corrupt. It was they were statistically right. Unless you're saying this is some rogue outlier,
well,
they were right.
Are you saying that I like this discussion? Are you saying that the CPS, because you're raising some good challenges, are you saying that the CPS's only duty, the Crown Prosecution Service's only duty, is to secure convictions where they're likely to get a conviction, or do they have a duty to actually prosecute cases also where there aren't where evidence doesn't have to be misrepresented in order to obtain the conviction?
No, the Crown have a duty to look at all evidence that relates to a case, right? So they have to look at the whole picture, and they're under a duty to disclose information which undermines their case, right?
Yeah, but they didn't do that.
The law. Well, then that's an abusive process, right? And that's a different matter.
Yeah.
Also, if that's right, then is there evidence of suppression? I don't know. I've not seen that. I mean, and what's happened with the CCRC? So the Criminal Cases Review Commission, have they refused that appeal?
No, we haven't heard from them yet.
Okay, so it's been referred up by them.
Yeah.
And usually the CCRC, when they refer it up, I mean, that's a pretty good indication that they're gonna do it. There's something wrong, and it does seem to me that it's a novel case, right? It's a novel case because it's really complex, and you have somebody, and at the heart of it, you've got what seems like a common sense conclusion. You've got somebody who seems to be present when the babies are, seems to have a connection with the presence of the babies. And logically, you would intuitively think, oh, that seems, oh, right. There's a temporal nexus.
If you didn't have all of the evidence that shows that she wasn't actually present for all of the babies.
If you didn't know about the statistics.
But that's the problem when they're not presenting. The CPS has I've had a similar discussion, actually, I just remembered, that someone was saying, well, it's not the CPS's job. It is. They have a duty to ensure that the proper evidence is being reviewed. And another thing I wanted to respond to about what you said about how it's a novel case. It's actually not a novel case. For example, there was Lucia de Burgh, who was a nurse in Netherlands, convicted under very similar circumstances. Hold on. But also, you can say it's a novel criminal case in the UK or whatever, right? But this is not novel in the sense of what the NHS does. This is a culmination of decades of cover-ups by the NHS and them becoming more and more brazen, becoming more and more getting more and more license by the courts, by the system, by the public to just do what they want, and they are constantly allowed to hide behind this brand of, oh, we're NHS, we can do no wrong. And this is not novel in the sense that it's a culmination of all of the things wrong with the NHS, the cover-up culture, the lies, the poor medical care, the lack of accountability, the integration with the CPS and the integration with the other services that is so biased that as soon as you're on the other side of them, you don't have a chance. You can't beat the system. And this is a systemic issue in the UK, period. It's novel as a case, but it's not novel in terms of the behaviours we're seeing.
I'm not sure there is that much of a massive integration with the CPS and the NHS, to be
quite frank. There is.
I don't. Well, I'm not convinced that's true.
Do you know that in court, a medical expert, a medical note is considered to be a contemporaneous record of true events?
Well, you're talking about a medical record by somebody recorded at the time?
Yes, it's considered to be a contemporaneous record of true events, meaning that in court they would consider that true unless you're able to debunk it, right? Obviously know.
Just a second. They would consider it to be a contemporaneous record. It wouldn't be considered to be
It's
true.
a contemporaneous record of true events unless you can debunk it.
No, it's considered to be a contemporaneous record.
Of true events.
Well, no.
You should look into it.
No, I know it well, right?
Yeah, it's considered to be, that's the phrasing that they use, a contemporaneous record of true events.
It's considered to be a contemporaneous record. Unless there's evidence, it doesn't mean... So if you're a doctor, right? So what you'll be recording usually will be what people tell you, okay? Now that might be corroborative. So say someone says they were hit on the head with a punch in the face, right? That's the statement they give to the police. They then go to court and someone says, you're a liar. And then you look in the medical records, and actually even, they've said, even before they spoke to the police when they were in the hospital, they were effectively saying the same thing, right? That's corroborative evidence, which is effectively...
I'm not saying it can't be challenged as evidence. Remember the point I made. The point I made is about the integration between the NHS and the CPS. There is a de facto integration, because if your notes are considered to be a contemporaneous record of true events and the CPS charges on the balance of probabilities, the likelihood of conviction, that means if there are medical notes suggesting that someone has done something, then they are going to be more likely to charge. Do you see? Whereas if I make notes, hold on. But if I make notes, if I make notes on a neonatal ward suggesting that someone has done something and present it to the CPS, they are far less likely to charge than if NHS staff make notes suggesting that someone has done something. Correct?
Well, it depends on I think.
Of course, come on.
If you make notes, right, if you make notes recording a medical diagnosis and you're not medically qualified, I think then there's probably good reason to ignore your notes.
Yeah, that's one part of it. That's one part of it.
Now,
The
if you
medical,
make notes, if
as
you
a
make
medical
notes of a
expert.
specific recording, you say, look, the baby's eyes were a certain colour that's consistent with and then
Right.
later on another expert's able to opine as to the nature of discoloration of the pupils as a result of certain drugs being taken. That can be that would necessarily your contemporaneous record may well be persuasive.
But what about consultants? Because consultants don't just do contemporaneous records; they can also do medical reports. Are you honestly being? I think you're being a little bit obtuse if you're actually saying that you don't think the CPS is going to consider medical testimony from a consultant as powerful evidence that will be far more likely for someone to be charged than if a layman just writes down that someone did something. You don't think that the fact that the consultants were the ones that suggested that Lucy Letby did something is the reason why they were charged? Do you think that if the parents were suggesting, oh, Lucy Letby's done this, do you think that they would be just as likely to charge as the consultants on the ward referring Lucy Letby?
Well, the thing is, the difference is the consultants on the ward are not they're not referring, they're not citing specific acts. They're not saying I saw her do this, I saw her do that, right? They're saying, her behaviour seems odd. It looks like her, they identified correlations, right?
Exactly.
Now, those correlations may or may not be meaningful. Like, just because something correlates doesn't mean it's probative, does it?
But there's a bias. There's a bias within the CPS towards the testimony of NHS staff and consultants. How can you deny that?
No, what you're saying is there's a bias. What you're saying is someone who is an expert, right? Who, if you're an expert, right? So I'll give you an example, right? So you've got consultants in Gaza who are used to going, doctors in Gaza who are used to going to different war zones, right? Okay? Now, they are used to seeing children come in with wounds from shrapnel, from bullets, all sorts of wounds, right? So all sorts of injuries.
Yeah.
They observed a preponderance of injuries consistent with, injuries to the head and chest consistent with being someone targeting children, right? Now, that is from somebody who has experience of different war zones, who has experience of the frequency of injuries that occur in those war zones, and they're saying, well, I've seen a higher frequency of children receiving effectively two injuries very closely clustered in the head. It seems to me that we have, and it seems to me more broadly when I've discussed that with other colleagues, and you look into the evidence more broadly, that's not just happening in one area, so it's not just one rogue person. There seems to be systemic targeting of children, right? That's something that you can't give as a layperson, right? That's something that requires some degree of insight that expertise and experience lend weight to.
Yeah, so you must obviously agree that their opinion is more likely to have credence, right?
If it's something where their expertise lends weight to it and you don't, as a layman, have understanding, then I can see why it does. But if you're just witnessing a fight, your vision of what happened, the description of what happened is given no more.
But like you said in the Letby case, they didn't actually say that they witnessed Letby do something. All they said was, we are concerned about this nurse. She was present when these babies passed away. Here is the cases she was present with. Send it to the CPS. And the CPS literally charged based on that. Now, if you actually think about it, right, if I said, oh, a lot of babies have died, this nurse was present, that's not a medical opinion, is it?
No, it's not, but you've got
exactly. So thereby you have tacitly acquiesced to the idea that, yes, it's because the consultants are saying it. I don't know what you're even arguing about. Like, it's obvious that the consultant saying it bears more weight than a layman. And that's my point, is that there is an integration because the CPS is well aware that medical expert testimony is going to be held in higher regard. I'm not saying that is bad or good. I'm just saying there is an inherent bias, right? There is a bias. There is an integration. And that integration also extends into the police. You need to, bro, I'm telling you, you should look into the case of, is it Robbie Fowler? There's actually... mate, there's actually a lot of crossover between police and the NHS, more than people realise. a lot of these people swap positions. A lot of them are married together, in relationships together. And also there are protocols such as working together to protect children, where they are working together on a regular basis. They have protocols that, the police have protocols that give priority to medical expert evidence, and have protocols that make it less likely that they're going to go into a ward and arrest a nurse. The nurses and doctors, the NHS, have protocols that make it more likely for them to cooperate with the police. They are integrated. They work together almost as one big organization. For you to act as though there isn't an inherent bias, I think that's disingenuous, because it's quite obvious if you look at the protocols, how it's structured, the CPS and the evidence that they consider to be strong evidence, and even just the perception of these individuals in society, and the history of cases where you see evidence from individuals like doctors and whatnot. It's obvious that yes, there is an inherent bias towards testimony from these individuals. And I'm not saying that it's not warranted at all. I'm saying that if you really think about it, this also presents problems when medical experts are lying, because they are able to misuse the bias that people have towards their testimony to basically avoid accountability.
Okay, firstly, what you're talking about is, if you were in the position of a consultant and you observe these statistical relationships, then you would probably be a medical expert, because unless you're a cleaner, right? How would you have that information unless you were a cleaner?
That's the point I'm making, is that's not medical expert evidence. They would need to get a statistician to present that evidence. That's not medical expert evidence. They're biased with regards to the evidence. Mate, you can clearly see what happened. The statistical evidence was not there. The medical experts presented statistical evidence that they were not even qualified to really examine. The CPS, because the consultant said it, they believed them. It was bias that made them believe what the consultant was saying. It turned out that the statistical evidence was flawed. They've not backed down. They've continued down this pursuit, continuously changed their narrative around what actually caused the death. And now you see that someone's in prison because of the bias that was held by the CPS towards the medical profession. That's exactly what happened.
It wasn't presented as statistical evidence.
Of course it was. They said she's present for all of the deaths.
That's right.
Exactly. So you would need a statistician. You would need a statistician to determine whether that is statistically significant. And it turns out that it wasn't. They even cherry picked the evidence and told and presented in court a table, an Excel spreadsheet saying, "Look, she's present for all of the cases. This means she must have done it." But she was only present for the cases because those were the cases that were cherry picked by the prosecution. They are misusing. That is flawed. That is illogical.
Misuse of information.
Of course it is.
What it is.
Of course it is.
Okay, you're right. Okay, about the need for the evidence to be tested, but what's happening here is that there is an intuitive kind of link between, and why should they be looking if she's not present? Intuitively, you think, well, how can she be responsible? And if there's no evidence of, because children pass away regretfully on those wards.
The point is just going completely over your head. There is institutional bias where opinions of medical experts are given more credence than they should be. That's all I'm saying. And I'm saying statisticians need to be involved early on to make a proper determination when you're dealing with statistical evidence. The evidence that had Lucy charged was statistical evidence. It was misinterpreted. The only reason they charged her is because of who was giving the evidence, the consultant. The evidence was not strong enough for a charge.
To the extent that it was statistical evidence, it was quasi-statistical. In fact, it was presented as there's a nexus between her presence and the effectively cause and effect, right? A causal relationship was interpreted from her presence. Okay,
which is a logical fallacy. First of all,
it wasn't just that.
That's not just a logical fallacy, but that's why a statistician needs to be involved, because you see and this is actually interesting, because the fact that you don't think that is statistical evidence is the problem in and of itself, because people don't realize that certain evidence actually is required to be interpreted statistically, because you need to test if you're saying this person was present, you need to actually see, is this statistically significant? What's the likelihood of her having been present anyway? What's the likelihood of other people being present? And that's what they didn't do. They just charged her, and then they've realized later on, well, we've all realized later on, oh, this was actually statistically flawed evidence. You get it?
I understand that the evidence was statistically flawed, but I also understand why, when they're compiling the case, you have basically a police officer who doesn't have access to a statistician, who's probably never prosecuted a case like this before, right? Who may have worked their way up through the ranks, who might not have a degree, probably does have a degree, but that might be a degree in English or a degree in history.
Oh, you've gone muted, mate.
No, that's all right. They're looking for information which kind of demonstrates a particular hypothesis they have, right? So rather than seeing conspiracy, I just see how it works. I don't think anyone's deliberately out to frame
the conspiracy is that it's clear that something's gone wrong and they're covering it up. Instead of them holding themselves accountable, they're covering it up. It is a conspiracy.
Once the conviction happens, well, no, because the CPS don't have a decision post-conviction to drop something.
The CPS made a mistake, and since then, the doctors involved that clearly know that they've presented false evidence. Those are who is involved in a conspiracy. It's not the CPS.
That? How does the system resolve that issue?
By granting her an appeal. But the fact that she wasn't granted an appeal is also suspicious.
But she
didn't have an appeal. She didn't have an appeal. She was denied an appeal.
No, an appeal was lodged.
And she was denied an opportunity to appeal.
No. Just a second.
Yes.
You have a right to appeal, right?
No, she was denied the opportunity for her appeal to be heard in court. It was denied at the start. She didn't have an appeal.
At what start? So what's the procedure for?
They just looked over the what the grounds of her appeal were and denied her an appeal.
Who looked over?
The court.
So the Court of Appeal looked over something and refused to appeal.
Yes.
Okay, and it wasn't renewed in open court, because you can renew it.
Well, I don't know what's happened with regards.
So you can renew it in front of a full court. So you can argue it in front of a full court.
Okay.
She
didn't have that. She just had. Oh, I don't know. All I know is I've seen the appeal document. All I know is that the appeal document clearly states the reasons that they presented for appeal and that the appeal was denied.
Have you seen a transcript of the appeal?
Yes.
Okay. In that case, it was argued before the full court. Because you wouldn't, if it's not argued before a full court, it will just be a written it won't be a judgment. It will just be like a small document, which says appeal denied.
Well, I'm sure there was some kind of hearing.
But if there was a hearing, then it was argued in front of the court, and the court said no grounds for appeal.
Yes.
Right? So, on the evidence that's presented, the Court of Appeal, which would be comprised of, I would imagine, a full bench of 3 effectively high court judges in the sitting of the Court of Appeal, said we don't consider the evidence. There's no, there isn't, the test would be whether or not the conviction was safe. And if they've said we don't consider there anything to challenge the safety of the conviction, at that particular point in time, nothing was presented to them which raised their concerns.
So you're basically saying it's not a conspiracy, it's just some kind of, systemic error or what?
Well, I can totally see that, I can totally see how this sort of stuff happens.
Yeah, me
too. I can totally see that. I think systemically, it's quite difficult for. I think this is kind of a difficult case for the court, for the system to deal with, because it requires lots of intelligent people spending time doing stuff, which is beyond the norm for the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
And it doesn't lend itself to easy interpretation or analysis. And I can totally see why looking at a table, that happens all the time. People just, it could be, it doesn't. Those sorts of things are just, knocked together randomly, and people think, oh, well, that makes sense. And it's not until you have somebody else bring in a different perspective that you've never considered.
I understand that, but I do still think that you're downplaying it. This is not benign stuff. You're talking about someone who's been in prison for their entire life. And you're kind of saying, well, these things happen. Well, no, these things shouldn't be happening. And when they do happen, they should be being addressed. So, and yes, a lot of people have perjured the court in this case. They have given false testimony.
That
is a problem. No, that's a problem. You're downplaying the case, mate.
I don't think that's true. Where have you got the evidence to demonstrate perjury? Because that's quite a high level allegation.
Yeah, Ravi Jairam claimed that Lucy Letby did not inform him that the baby was deteriorating, and emails have since come out that suggest that he was fully aware that she informed the staff members.
Baby. So one of the children, there was an email that may have made. So how do you know that's cock up and not conspiracy?
He was CC'd in it.
To make mistakes. Huh?
He was in the email.
Yeah, but just because you're in an email, how many emails do you receive every day?
Mate,
Jesus Christ.
So
I mean, if you were to hold
do you know what's hilarious? Do you know what's hilarious is the extent to which you're defending testimony that is not credible. It's not credible, mate. This guy, he's come on and said, oh, he saw Lucy Letby standing over the baby, right? and that she didn't call him over, and somehow that was suspicious. They get told to have a period of observation of the babies before turning up the oxygen. I know that personally. That was a massive feature in my daughter's case when we were on the neonatal ward. They get told to do this. They are deliberately not informing the court of pertinent information that would essentially show that Lucy Letby is not guilty. You realise Dowie Evans changed Dowie Evans changed his theory as to how Lucy Letby unalived the children twice, and you're acting like this is no big deal. First he said, "Oh, it was a gastric in she injected air into the stomach of the baby." Then he's saying, "Oh, it's an intravenous air embolism." Now we know, "Oh, it's an intra-arterial air embolism." It's nonsense, and you're defending these people.
No,
and this
like
your attitude,
their
mate.
Expert seems like bullshit to me. Their expert seems like their expert is the fulcrum of their case. Without their expert, they would never.
But you're acting like it's benign. Like you're saying, "Oh, there's no conspiracy," mate. It doesn't have to. Okay, use a different word of conspiracy. There is systemic issues in the NHS with cover-ups. This has been addressed. It's not like I'm just making up. This has been addressed. I'm not saying, "Oh, there's dark forces at hand and Lucy was the chosen one." And no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is not novel and just benign and just out of the. This is a culmination of decades of cover-up culture. That's what's happening. They've been getting away with doing this for decades.
So the NHS, as you say, the NHS has been deliberately doing what?
They've been covering up harm to children on neonatal wards for decades. They get away with it by working together with the coroners, by misrepresenting evidence, by deleting evidence, by giving false testimony, by perjuring, by committing perjury at inquests. This is like they constantly do this. It's a culture within the NHS. It's a culture, and because people like yourself, which I'm not trying to criticize you, but people like yourself, you kind of think, "Oh, well, there's no real big conspiracy. Things happen." No, they know how people view them, and they constantly do this to get away, to not be held accountable when people die.
There's a culture of perjury, right?
There's a culture of cover-up, and a cover-up is fraud. A cover-up is criminal. I didn't say there's a culture of perjury. I said there's a culture of cover-up.
Well, no, you said that they are regularly going to coroners.
They're regularly perjuring the coroner. Yes.
You said in this case they perjured themselves.
Yes.
Perjury has a specific test, so they are deliberately, knowingly giving untruthful evidence.
Yes.
Where have you ever had a conviction of anybody for perjury in any of these cases?
That's the problem. They don't get convicted because of the bias. It's an institutional problem. It's a problem of the institution. That's what you're not understanding. You're thinking it's benign. It's not benign. It's a culture within the NHS. It's been remarked on by the Parliamentary Health Service Ombudsman, by the Health Secretary, by the Darzi. Go and look up the Darzi report, the report by Lord Darzi into the NHS. They routinely find. Look, I've got an article up right now. Where's this article? I've got it up right now.
It demonstrates
Guardian. This is from 2 weeks ago. Hold on.
So an editorial piece does not prove.
No. I want to show you what is it. See, this is the thing. The defensiveness is crazy. Like, let me show you. Mothers, listen carefully. Mothers and babies, mothers and babies at risk of harm in toxic NHS cover-up culture. Health leader to say, this is not just an argument, this is the head of the GMC. The GMC are notorious for defending doctors, and even they're admitting there's a toxic NHS cover-up culture. The NMC have said this. The head of the CQC has said this. You are defending it. You're defending a culture of organised cover-up, systemic abuse in the NHS. You are, because this attitude is why these people never get held accountable. This is the problem.
Firstly, you've gone for a headline, right, which suggests that the NHS, the GMC, so the doctors, the General Medical Council,
the head of the GMC,
recognise there is an issue of cover-up, and therefore they and what do they do when they do those things? They have whistleblowing policies. They've introduced policies to try and and those sorts of difficulties arise in every institution, and you have to deal with them because obviously. There's also a litigation culture. So, and the NHS has massive litigation costs. So there is a natural defensiveness for, doctors who are going to be sued. So I don't see that as completely odd.
Mate, let me ask you, let's just simplify this. Is there a cover-up culture in the NHS?
I don't think there isn't. Yeah, I think there is probably. There would always be.
There is a cover-up culture in the NHS. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows there's a cover-up culture in the NHS. Now, here's my second question. Can a cover-up culture lead along the line to people being wrongfully held accountable because blame is shifted?
Inevitably. Well,
okay,
inevitably,
that's all I'm saying.
But what you're saying is something very different.
Okay, go on.
What you're saying is people deliberately perjured themselves, and there is evidence of systemic perjury.
Of course they do.
Now that's a very different. That's a very different allegation,
mate.
And it's one which I asked you for some evidence of any convictions that have been based on.
But you're asking me for evidence, but it would require them to be convicted of. Listen. Let me respond. You're asking me for evidence. The evidence that you would need is them being convicted of perjury. But the whole point let me finish. The whole point I'm making is that they don't get convicted of perjury because of the institutional bias and the culture in the NHS, the CPS, and the courts with respect to NHS care. They are defensive of the NHS. That's the whole problem. That's the whole thing that I'm describing. Do you really?
Well, no, because you've jumped from one to the other. So you can have a cover-up without there being a deliberate attempt to perjure yourself, right?
There can be a cover-up without perjury, but I'm saying perjury does routinely happen because of the cover-up culture, because they know it's very unlikely if I perjure the court that I'm going to be held accountable. They know that there's laws that protect certain things that they say as legal opinions. They protect. There's things. Wait. There's things that protect the things that they say as medical expert opinions. Then there's even issues with there's even a Supreme Court ruling that we're even trying to fight against, which is a secondary victim ruling, where because of this concept of the floodgates of litigation, where they don't want loads of people to start suing the NHS en masse, they see it almost as a necessary evil that some people's cases won't be heard in court because they want to protect the NHS. The Supreme Court themselves have stated this, that because of the current climate of the NHS, they don't want to allow secondary victims to be able to claim for psychiatric injury, that the NHS is not responsible for the psychiatric injury. So the NHS can kill your child, and then your psychiatric injury, they can kill your child through blatant negligence. Your psychiatric injury, they're like, oh, we're not responsible for the NHS is not responsible for psychiatric injury. And they've particularly said the reason they made this judgment is because of the climate in the NHS, which shows you the courts want to protect the NHS. They want to prevent the floodgates of litigation. This is a culture within the institutions in the UK.
Where does it stop? Like secondary parties' injuries,
secondary victims, yeah.
Well, that's that. Well, I mean, that is the compensation not dealt with by virtue of the compensation that would flow from the primary victim.
You get bereavement award.
So there is an award. But
15K.
There is an award. Just a second. Forget that. So there is some form of compensation that's
15K. 15K. You need a lawyer. You're going to be paying your lawyer what, 30%? You're getting 10K. The NHS kills your child in front of you. You get 10K. You think that's fair?
If it's negligent, right?
Do you think that's fair?
It's not just that though. If
lifetime of psychiatric injury, 10K. You think that's fair?
If your child passes away through negligence, are you saying there is no award beyond £15,000?
It depends on the negligence. It would have to be a very extreme. It has to be a very extreme case of negligence. If your child passes away through blatant medical negligence, you are entitled to 15K bereavement award. 99% of lawyers won't take your case because they know about the Supreme Court judgment from 2022. It's called the Paul judgment, because the courts are deliberately trying to protect the NHS from the floodgates of litigation.
And should they not be trying to do that?
I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm saying that there's an institutional culture. There's an institutional culture where the NHS is deliberately protected, which allows them to do things like lie in court, cover up, fabricate notes, because they know it's difficult to hold them accountable.
What you're talking about is something different, right?
No, it's all interlinked. You just don't see how it's linked together.
You're making links that don't exist. Right?
No, I'm not. I know way more about this than you do. How am I making links that don't exist? How is there not a link between the NHS staff knowing if they kill someone through negligence that the trust is only gonna have to pay 15K? You're saying there's no link between them knowing we only have to pay 15K and them covering up deaths. So if an organization knows we're less likely to be held accountable, you don't think that makes them more likely to cover up?
Well, the whole point of having of the law in relation to compensation for these sorts of things is to enable there to be compensation that flows. So if you're saying there is no compensation that flows from negligence other than £15,000, well, there is. What problem does the court have? Because if they've limited liability to £15,000, and you're saying, well, actually, in that, because there's an inherent inconsistency in what you say.
No, there isn't.
Well, no, there is. Because
No, there isn't. You just don't know that there's two different awards that you would be requesting.
So there's no problem with them being as negligent as they want. They know they can get away with it.
Yeah.
And therefore, why do they even have to bother lying? They go, yeah, I was negligent, get you 15 grand.
No, they lie. No. Listen. Okay, here, let me explain it to you because you might not know about this, right? So let's say, for example, like I'll give you my daughter's case as a perfect example. My daughter was killed by a blatant ventilator error where her machine stopped working and the staff members didn't do anything. She died in front of 10 people, right? If that case went to court properly, we would be entitled to secondary victim judgment, right? We would be entitled to millions of pounds for loss of earnings, psychiatric harm, right? But because the NHS knows about the secondary victim judgment, the lawyers know, what they will do is they'll say something like, the baby died of COVID, there was a late diagnosis. Because they know if they lie about how the baby died and say, there was a late diagnosis, that now it shows, the baby died due to negligence, but it's a form of negligence that will allow them to get away with only paying 15k. So they know, we can commit fraud and cover up this note because it's extremely difficult for you to prove, no, this was actually a really extreme case compared to this was a benign case. So what they are able to do, they're very clever with how they do it. What they're able to do is they shoehorn cases, they liaise with their lawyers. They will speak to their lawyers and their lawyers will tell them, look, poor judgment. You can get away with, this is what you said. They collude with, they have lawyers that there to protect them. So the lawyers will tell them, yes, if it's a late diagnosis death, then the judgment is very low. If you admit that there was a ventilator induced lung injury that everybody saw, then they will say, don't speak on that. Don't make any statements with respect to that because that's going to open you up to millions of pounds of litigation. The fact that you can't see a connection between reduced liability in court and the likelihood of NHS staff members documenting things that make them less likely to fall into severe categories of harm, less likely to be held liable for millions of pounds is pure naivete.
No, I think it's complete bullshit to think that...
Because you don't know anything about it.
Well, no, because
you're just talking. You don't know shit. You don't know shit about any of this.
Just a second. No, just a second. You think that there is a conspiracy of doctors who...
No. You're trying to play with language. No, you're trying to misuse language to misrepresent the argument that I'm making.
Okay, you're saying systemically doctors will re-diagnose the causes of death, redetermine causes of death, to effectively limit liability.
Of course!
To do so.
Of course they do that.
And this is happening whole scale.
That's what cover-up culture is. That's what it means.
Yeah, okay. I'm not buying it because
you're not buying what the reports into NHS say. You're not buying what the government themselves are saying by the NHS. You're not buying what the Parliamentary Health Service Ombudsman says. You're not buying what the head of the GMC says. You're not buying what West Streeting says. You're not buying what the CQC says. Who has to say it for you to buy it? There is a cover-up culture in the NHS. You're just defending it. You don't know anything about it. You don't know anything about what's going on in the NHS. You're just talking. You're defending a system that is corrupt. That's the people like you are the reason why they get away with it.
Okay, the system's corrupt, but when has anyone been prosecuted for this?
They don't get prosecuted because the courts make it difficult to prosecute them. That's the whole point.
It's very easy to prosecute.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Okay, so if someone lies about a cause of death, you can't prove it's wrong. You can't get a doctor to go, that's not right.
It's very difficult. I'm going through it. You don't even know anything about it. You don't know it, mate. Do you even know anyone that's ever sued the NHS?
People sue the NHS.
Do you know anyone that's ever sued the NHS?
I used to, I've worked in firms where that was what
Do you personally know anyone that's ever sued the NHS?
I've met people who've sued the NHS, yeah.
And they told you it was easy?
I mean, there's lawyers who specialise in this stuff.
Mate, you don't know shit. You don't know shit. I'm sorry, you don't know shit. Mate, I know hundreds of people. I do this fucking every day. I know hundreds of people that are suing the NHS. If I pull up my WhatsApp right now, I've probably got 5 unread messages right now from harmed parents trying to sue the NHS. I know what I'm talking about. I'm a parent suing the NHS. I know how it goes. They lie, they cover up. You're just naive.
Maybe the difficulty you've got. I know exactly how to put litigation together, right? Maybe the difficulty you've got is that, and maybe the difficulty you've got is that, with due respect, the cases where people have suffered a loss, that your analysis of this conspiracy, this widespread conspiracy for doctors,
oh my God,
misreporting deaths to limit damage, which doesn't affect them, by the way. It's not going to affect them personally, is it?
Of course it does. So it affects their professional reputation.
So Okay, all right.
Okay. You can just stay living in. Okay, do you know what? Let's just do it like this. You can stay living in La La Land. Doctors don't cover up deaths. That's fine. Believe what you want.
Do you know what? I'm not saying they never do. I'm not saying that's never happened.
You're saying there isn't a culture of doctors covering up deaths, even though there obviously is. But if you want to believe that, then you can believe what you want.
You say these things. You say them, but you say them without evidence. I ask you.
I've pulled. How much evidence do you need? I've just given you multiple credible sources. How much evidence do you need? How much evidence do you need?
No evidence.
How much evidence do you need that there's a culture of NHS staff covering up deaths? How much fucking evidence do you need? HCSA calls for action on cover-up culture. This is, mate, what are you fucking talking about? HCSA has warned that dysfunctional governance and a cover-up culture are being fueled by a lack of transparency on director appointments and responsibilities, on the absence of meaningful board-level scrutiny. So it's from the board, it's right from the top down. NHS Ombudsman warns of cover-up culture. This is June 2025. The government just did a report. 80% of NHS trusts not meeting their target. And part of that is the culture of cover-up. Look, I just showed you this Guardian article. The CQC also came up with something last year. How can you tell... this guy... You know we're right. You just don't want to accept that you're wrong. Yeah. British Medical Journal, 7 principles aim to change cover-up culture.
I don't accept that doctors are just randomly lying about stuff that they don't.
You don't want to accept it. You don't want to accept it. You don't want to accept it. It's fine. Just give your final thought. You don't want to accept it. It's fine. What are your final thoughts?
No, I mean, you've made loads of allegations, but you've not cited any actual evidence.
Okay.
You said these people made these findings. Where's the actual evidence of one instance of this happening? Just
my daughter's case.
Yeah, but. Where's the evidence of that? Where's the fact finding that has demonstrated that to be true?
It's in the High Court right now.
So
there's going to be
mate,
are you retarded? Mate, okay. Do you want me to give you another one? Okay.
Okay. Where's it been?
Yeah, I'll give you. No. Let me give you one. Let me give you one, so I can silence you once and for all. Right? Yeah. So, do you know that I know a father that is responsible for why the duty of candor was actually introduced in the NHS? Yeah, and the reason why the Robbie Powell case, the duty of candor was introduced because after the Robbie Powell case, there's a man. I know the father of Robbie Powell, right? His child was killed by the NHS. They covered it up. The police were about to charge the NHS staff that were involved in the cover-up, and they said it's not in the public interest to charge because the police that were involved were directly connected to some of the the senior police officers. Robbie Powell's case, he went all the way to the European Court. Let me finish because you asked for a case. You asked for a case. No. You asked for a case. You don't know that I got the evidence and I got the receipts. This case went to the European Court of Human Rights, and it was determined that there was no duty of candor. There was no duty for doctors to tell the truth when a patient dies. The duty of candor was introduced in the NHS because of the Robbie Powell case. Robbie Powell's father still hasn't had justice. The case was covered up. This is a textbook case. The police even found evidence of cover-up, of fraud, of misrepresentation. There was significant evidence of cover-up. Go and look up the case. You're talking about where's the evidence? You have never looked up the evidence. You're talking shit. You don't even know anything. You've never looked up a single case. You're talking about, oh, give me one case. I'm giving you multiple cases. I'm giving you multiple sources of people.
Talking about the doctors didn't disclose the cause of death. And you're saying actually they should disclose the cause of death, and that's what the High Court found. That seems reasonable, but it doesn't say what it doesn't say is fundamentally that there'd been doctors perjuring themselves, making up causes of death that didn't exist to protect themselves.
Okay.
So that doesn't demonstrate your point. So fundamentally, the whole thing that you're banging on about, you're the one in La La Land. You see.
Okay.
You're looking through a dirty lens where you can't see the wood for the tree.
Really? Do you realise that I've actually spoken to Wes Streeton 3 times in person, and he's literally said to me that I said to him, I believe that cover-up culture is a euphemism for organised crime in the NHS, and he says, Amma, I don't doubt that that's true.
Well, okay, get him to say that in public.
I've got a recording of it. He said it in public.
Play it. If you've got a recording of it, play it.
It's on my other phone. I don't have my other phone right now.
Okay, sure, fine, yeah.
You're a fucking idiot, mate. You're literally a fucking idiot. Yeah. Go and look up the news articles right now. You can look up the news articles right now. You'll see the Nottingham families meeting with Wes Streeton. Go and look it up, you clown. You're a clown, bruv. Get off my live, bruv. This guy's chatting shit, bruv. Go and look it up. He's like, where's the evidence? How much evidence do you need? I'm giving you evidence over and over again, and you go, where's the evidence? Go and look it up. Like, you're talking about something you don't know anything about, and then I'm telling you what the evidence is. Oh, but what about this? That didn't happen. Bro, go and look up right now. Let's pull it up right now for the people watching, right? Wes Streeting, yeah, Nottingham families. So he's telling me that I'm not a Nottingham family that fucking met with Wes Street. Like, this guy's a clown, bro. Look, Nottingham baby death families deserve answers. This is Wes Streeting. This is 12th June 2025. The Health Secretary has described meeting families affected by the Nottingham maternity scandal as the most harrowing meeting he has had in the role. Yeah, it was harrowing because I told him the story of how they killed Adora, covered it up. I told him how she had black eyes, how they misrepresented all of the evidence, how they reported us to social services, fabricated notes. There's 2,500 cases in the Nottingham maternity scandal. How can there be cases in a maternity scandal if all the families are getting proper justice and all the families, the babies are getting proper diagnosis in their death? Oh, so they just plucked 2,500 cases out of thin air. Is this guy like... And do you know why this shit gets me so heated, yeah? Is because these are the people that are allowing these problems to exist in our society. They just refuse to accept. Like, if you see any kind of story, like, just deep it, yeah? Imagine if there was no newspaper articles about this. Imagine if the government was not saying this stuff. Imagine if the CQC, the GMC, imagine if no one was actually speaking about this stuff. And I was telling you guys, I've been a victim of organised cover-up. No one would believe me at all. No one would believe. I'm lucky that my daughter died as part of the Nottingham maternity scandal. Because if she didn't die as part of a maternity scandal, no one would believe me at all. So imagine if you saw a news story saying, a gang of drug dealers convicted of selling of County Lines operation. No one would look at that and be like, oh, well, it's just a newspaper article. Everyone go, okay, gang of drug dealers convicted. This trust that killed my daughter is literally being criminally investigated. No other trust in the entire country is being criminally investigated. A story came out like a few weeks, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, saying, a week ago. It was like that they're considering charges of corporate manslaughter. Corporate manslaughter is when you kill a child, an organization kills a child due to systemic failures. Now, think about it. If a child dies due to systemic failures, yeah, and then nothing happens to the point where the police eventually have to investigate 2,500 cases, can you honestly say that all of these cases had the correct cause of death? Because if the cause of death was written, this death was medical negligence, then don't you think they would be investigating it? If it was written, this cause of death was because a doctor accidentally turned off Adora's machine and it killed her, don't you think the police would investigate? The reason the police don't investigate is because the fucking doctors write on the death certificate, oh, she died of COVID. Oh, they died of this. Oh, they died of that. That's the fucking reason why they don't investigate it. It's obvious. So you're like, oh, well, just because there's a cover-up culture doesn't mean doctors are writing a different cause of death. That's literally exactly what it means. Because if they wrote the proper cause of death, they would get investigated for it. For 10, 20 years, they haven't been investigated for it. That's why there's a maternity scandal. So that shows you they're not being investigated. And they're not being investigated because of the documentation that the doctors are putting. And for someone to be so naive and obtuse as to think that there's a cover-up culture, but doctors are not covering up in the medical notes, this is the problem, guys. This is the problem. This is the problem, and this is why I gotta hit the soundboard right now, right? This is why I gotta hit the soundboard, man. This is a soundboard moment.
Crazy pills! Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking fucking...
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
How does nobody notice this? How much do we need to see? How many cover-up... I mean, just look at this. This guy is defending the people giving false testimony in court in the Letby case. Oh, what do you think? It's some kind of conspiracy? Ninja. It's a fucking conspiracy when multiple consultants are colluding to give false testimony about how a child died, such that somebody is in prison and they know that the person's in prison wrongfully. And instead of them coming out and saying, look, this person, they're never going to have children, they're stuck in prison for the rest of their life, they're being considered the worst serial killer in history. Instead of them to come out and say this, they're continuously giving false testimony. And instead of this person to look at that and say, this is wrong, I totally condemn this, he's going, what, you're saying it's some kind of conspiracy? Yeah, Do I have to use the word conspiracy to make you feel better? Yes, it's a fucking conspiracy. It's a conspiracy. You never question if it's a conspiracy when Jim Bob sells cocaine to Tony. Jim Bob don't even know Tony. He's never even met his family, right? He's never met his family, but he's going to get convicted of conspiracy to supply Class A. He wasn't conspiring. He just said, oh, what? The guy's over there, yeah? I'm going to give it. But you never question if that's a conspiracy. But when doctors who work on the same ward are colluding to give false testimony in court, oh, what? You're saying it's some kind of conspiracy? Yes, it's a conspiracy. Like, anyway, guys, I've got to get on with my day. I love this live. This is one of my favorite lives, man. Not just because of the idiots that came on, but just the passion. Like, I like getting passionate because that's when I start coming with the smoke. So press the follow button, guys. Press the follow button. You know, share if you want next time. I like getting passionate. People are going to say, you're aggressive. Why are you getting angry? No, this is passion. I am passionate about my daughter. I am passionate about the issues in the NHS. I am passionate about cover-up culture. I am passionate about the UK and the systemic issues in the UK. I am passionate about it. I grew up in this country. This country's done so much for me. I played rugby 15 years in this country. A police officer came into my house and helped me when my parents used to argue. A police officer drove me back and forth to rugby every day in school. I don't want to be against the system, but I want to live in a system of representative democracy, real democracy, where people are actually getting true justice. I don't want to live in a system of priests and people who have a class in society where they are able to get away with killing people, covering up, and just because they work for an organization called the NHS, they're going to get defended by the public. I don't want to live in that system. I don't want to live in that system. And if that makes me aggressive, intimidating, if that makes me vile, if that makes me rude, insensitive, loud, if that makes me this one and that one, and I'm bad and I'm this, then I don't care, because I am passionate about getting justice for my fucking daughter. And it's not going to stop. The smoke is going to continue ad infinitum. They want to put me in prison. Put me in prison. I'm going to come out. My guns are going to be bigger and I'm going to still be firing away because I am passionate. I'm not aggressive and intimidating. I am passionate, and I'm tired of seeing the country that I love, the country that I grew up in, fall to the wayside. No one wants to say anything. People want to give all of these false reasoning about why things are going wrong. The truth of the matter is, it's going wrong because of us. It's going wrong because we don't want to hold ourselves, our systems, our way of thinking. We don't want to hold ourselves accountable. That's why the country's going to shit. Do you think I want to be on here talking about, oh, the USA is bad? No, but we live in a country that is going to shit. And it's because of our systems and the way that we think, the way that we perceive the system, our refusal to take accountability, our refusal to accept maybe something's wrong with how we do governance. Maybe something's wrong with how we do healthcare. Maybe something's wrong with how we think, how we relate with one another. We never want to accept maybe something's really wrong. Maybe it's us. Maybe it's our systems. Maybe the NHS isn't perfect. Thank you, guys. It's not anger, it's not rudeness, whatever you want to call it. This is real passion, and I want to get justice for my daughter. So, guys, thank you very much. I was going to do the Lucy Letby video reaction, but I went on too long. We're going to do it tomorrow, guys. It's all set up. So first thing tomorrow, maybe even later today, once I got to go post office, do a couple things. You know what I'm saying? I'll be back. We're going to do the Lucy Letby documentary later. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Peace. Take care. Okay, live streamers, sorry, I know I said to the YouTube live watchers, I hope you enjoyed the live stream. That's pretty much our first proper live back. Do you know what I'm saying? I hope you enjoyed the quality. You can see, like, we've got a better setup now. So you see this screen right now, guys. Obviously, we're going to be doing the Lucy Letby documentary later. I'm sorry that I didn't actually bang it on, but I'm going to look, see, it's set up right now. So just check us out on YouTube later. I'll launch it. And we're going to have a merry old time. And I'll see, maybe I'll put another live on when we do it. But